You're so gentle, you're so kind. You're the only one I see. And whenever years go by.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I am George Davis.
And I'm Roby Ann Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, Mark Golding's budget speech comes to explosive, premature end after he attacked the elevation of Juliet Holness to the role of House Speaker.
The Speaker is intended to be independent and must act independently of the government today. That is the tradition. That is the tradition.
Mr. Golding's comments sparked a walkout by government MPs led by Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
The walkout by government MPs deprived the sitting of the quorum required for the business of the House to continue.
Meanwhile, the opposition leader criticized the government for failing to raise the income tax threshold to the level expected by the people.
PJ Patterson and Hugh Small make startling intervention about how the compromised jury should have been handled in the Vibes Cartel murder trial.
In news from the rest of the world, a senior policeman in Trinidad and Tobago is under investigation for allegedly sexually assaulting his two daughters.
The U.S. Supreme Court approves law allowing Texas to arrest and jail people who cross into the U.S. illegally.
In headline sports, sprinter Brianna Williams packs up a Jamaican training camp and heads back to the USA.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, all hell broke loose in the House of Representatives today as Mark Golding wound up his budget presentation after he criticized the elevation of Juliet Holness to the role of House Speaker. You'll hear that exchange along with his criticism of the government for its failure to address the critical needs of Jamaicans.
The challenges and priorities are now different. Economic stability is not sufficient to meet the needs and expectations of the Jamaican people.
Senior lecturer in the Department of Economics at the UWM Mona, Dr. Christine Clark, and economist Sondre Roden will join us.
From 6 to 8 this evening, join us for a live broadcast from the Faculty of Medical Sciences at the UWI Mona for the launch of a scientific memoir by Dr. Simone Badal McCreath titled No Cell Left Behind.
And at 8, it's Prescription for Life with Dr. Andre MacDonald.
And at 9, it's Affairs of the Heart with Rodney Campbell. Tonight's topic, should you date within your class?
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile Nationwide 90 FM, nationwideradiojm.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store this Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday, March 19, 2024.
News at 5 is brought to you by the new Crunch Sandwich from KFC. Available in hot and spicy or barbecue for just $600. A finger-licking good deal at KFC.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Opposition leader Mark Golding's contribution to the budget debate came to an explosive, premature end in the House of Representatives today after government members walked out of the chamber in reaction to what they felt was his incendiary comments about House Speaker Juliet Holness. Mr. Golding was winding down his presentation when he said this.
When the former Speaker was forced to resign as a result of an Integrity Commission investigation, the move to replace her with the wife of the Prime Minister, so that the head of Parliament is now the spouse of the head of government, really does not sit well with the tradition that the Speaker must act independently of the government of the day. The Speaker is intended to be independent and must act independently of the government today. That is the tradition. That is the tradition.
A visibly angry Prime Minister Andrew Holness was the first to leave the chamber, followed by several government MPs. There was a verbal clash between members on opposing sides as opposition MPs shouted, "Go, go, go." Government MP Everald Warmington and opposition MP Julian Robinson had a sustained testy exchange. It was Warmington who returned to the chamber to inform the Deputy House Speaker Heroy Clark that he was duty-bound to adjourn the sitting due to the lack of a quorum. The PNP has only 14 MPs and the standing orders requires at least 17 members to be present for any sitting of the House.
Section 7 of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives of Jamaica says the quorum of a House and of a committee of the whole House shall consist of 16 members beside the person presiding. If at any time during a sitting of the House objection is validly taken by any member that there is not a quorum present, the person presiding shall direct members to be summoned, and if at the end of 5 minutes a quorum be not present, he shall adjourn the House without question put. If at any time during a sitting of this Honorable House is now adjourned.
Heroy Clark, Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, he was forced to end the proceedings after the 5 minutes had elapsed as government members failed to re-emerge.
Opposition leader Mark Golding says Jamaicans are disappointed that the Holness administration failed to meet their expectation of a rise in the income tax threshold to $2 million. During his contribution to the budget debate on Tuesday, Mr. Golding chided the government for only raising the threshold to $1.7 million. Siobhan Campbell has that story.
According to Mr. Golding, Prime Minister Holness failed to deliver fully on his promise of 1.5 2.0. He says the increase in the income tax threshold from 1.5 million to 1.7 million is short of what's needed at this time.
After the Prime Minister's grand election pronouncement of 1.5 2.0, persons are understandably quite disappointed that the Minister has announced an increase of the threshold to only 1.7 million. That's $200,000. What they expected to be 2.0 million ended up being 0.2 million. And that translates to a mere $4,166 per month in benefit in their take-home pay. And Madam Speaker, I am told, I didn't check it myself, but you can check it if you like, that $4,166 can't even buy a bucket of KFC for a family looking to share and have community with family and friends.
Mr. Golding says the government should have scrapped the measure which will see it give a $20,000 reverse tax credit to some pay-as-you-earn contributors. He says the scrapping of that measure would have allowed the government to raise the income tax threshold to $2 million.
Madam Speaker, if the Minister had, as phase 1 of restoring the value of the 1.5, even increased the threshold to 2 million, that would give persons an additional $125,000 per year in their pockets, $10,400 per month in their take-home pay. And that would be a more meaningful benefit. And Madam Speaker, it could have been paid for by using the $11.4 billion that has been allocated to the one-time reverse tax credit. In getting to $3 million, as tax inflows continue to grow, the threshold can be adjusted again in the future, in phase 2 and maybe even phase 3, depending how long it takes. So, Madam Speaker, Jamaica needs caring governance. Yes. And that is why we are on the road to change.
Mr. Golding then attacked the government over its declaration of no new taxes in the past several budget cycles.
Since this JLP government came to office, they have more than doubled the annual tax take from every man, woman, and child in Jamaica, increasing it by a massive $190,000 per person. And it now totals $342,000 per person at the time of this current budget. They've more than doubled the taxes they're taking from the people. So much for this no new taxes Sankey. It is irrelevant.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, the opposition leader accused the government of trying to curry favor with the electorate through its introduction of a $20,000 reverse tax credit.
He said that the objective is to incentivize on-time filing and paying statutory deductions. However, that objective is really questionable because to qualify for this, he says that you will have to become fully compliant for the 2023 tax year already gone by March 31, 2024. And that deadline is less than a fortnight away. The truth is that this so-called reverse tax credit smells like a $20,000 giveaway for political advantage as we get ever closer to the next general election.
The opposition leader went further with his criticism of the government's reverse tax credit measure. He says the requirement for compliance among employers only serves to punish employees for a matter outside of their control.
Many businesses are now reeling from the increase in interest rates and are facing cash flow difficulties. So many of those employers may be behind in filings and payments of statutory deductions and employer contributions. The employee should not be blamed or penalized for that. Minister, an employer paying under $3 million to an employee, and the employee himself or herself should get this benefit, whatever the tax status of the employer.
Mark Golding, opposition leader, he was making his contribution to the budget debate in the House of Representatives.
Two eminent attorneys, King's Counsels P.J. Patterson and Hugh Small, have made a startling revelation concerning the recent decision by the UK-based Privy Council to quash the murder conviction of dancehall star Vybz Cartel and his three co-accused. In a joint statement issued on Tuesday, the men say the presiding judge in the Cartel trial, along with the justices who heard the matter at the Court of Appeal, were apparently unaware of a judgment of the Court of Appeal in 1983 that it was the duty of the court to discharge a jury and proceed to a new trial in circumstances where the jury was compromised. The Cartel trial was presided over by Justice Lennox Campbell. It was heard at the Court of Appeal by Justices Dennis Morrison, Patrick Brooks, and Franklin Williams. Nora Gay Banton tells us more.
Cartel, whose given name is Adijah Palmer, and his co-convicts Sean Storm Campbell, Kahira Jones, and Andre St. John were convicted in 2014 for the murder of Clive Lizard Williams in 2011. That conviction was quashed in the Privy Council last Thursday. The UK law lords argued that the jury irregularities of the trial gave rise to a miscarriage of justice. During the 65-day trial, it emerged that one of the jurors, Livingston Kane, offered $500,000 to the jury foreman to influence the others to return a not guilty verdict. When the matter of the bribe was raised, Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn recommended to the judge, Justice Lennox Campbell, that the trial proceed. However, according to P.J. Patterson and Hugh Small, neither the trial judge nor the three judges who heard the appeal from the ruling and verdict were apparently aware of a prior judgment of the Court of Appeal in 1983 that ruled in similar circumstances. In that case, it was ruled that the duty of the court was to discharge the entire jury and order a new trial. The case was the Gleaner Company Limited and John Hearn versus Michael Manley. P.J. Patterson and Hugh Small both appeared as counsels for Manley. At that trial, Justice U.D. Gordon, after 3 weeks of evidence, discharged the foreman as a special juror that was hearing evidence in the libel case in which Manley claimed damages for an article written by John Hearn and published by the Gleaner. During the hearing, the Gleaner produced evidence that the foreman of the jury was employed to the National Workers' Union NWU during a period when Manley held the position of island supervisor. Justice Gordon discharged the foreman on the grounds of apparent bias, but refused to discharge the entire jury and decided to continue with the 6 special jurors who remained. The Gleaner and John Hearn then appealed the justices' refusal to discharge all the members of the jury. The Court of Appeal of Jamaica, consisting of Justices Edward Zaka, Ira Rowe, and R.O.C. White, decided by a majority that the entire jury must be discharged and a new trial take place. In his judgment, the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Edward Zaka, stated that nothing should be done which creates even a suspicion that there has been an improper interference with the Court of Justice. The ruling by the justices, as grounded in the argument The ruling by the justices was grounded in the argument that one cannot tell to what extent the bias of the foreman may have influenced the remaining jurors. P.J. Patterson and Hugh Small say it's regrettable this case was not brought to the attention of Justice Campbell and the judges of the Jamaica Court of Appeal or cited by the Privy Council in its recent ruling. According to both King's counsels, to have continued the criminal case against Vibes Cartel et al., notwithstanding 64 days of trial, was not merely a risk but a fatal error. They say this rendered any final verdict unacceptable in accordance with the tenets of justice and the decision of the Jamaican Court of Appeal in 1983. Nora Gay Banton for Nationwide News.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide 90 FM. More news after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
16 minutes past 5.
The Leaders Conference of Choice is back on site at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online. Register now for Middle Managers Leadership Conference. Call 876-978-60012 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com. Sponsored by Make Your Mark Group, Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, JPS, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Monographic Printers, Main Event Entertainment Group, Nationwide News Network, and Visual Tech Solutions. Middle Managers Conference, May 1 to 2, 2024. Sign up at www.makeyourmarkgroup.com.
Go crazy for this offer from Flow. Get a free Samsung phone and earbuds when you sign up for Flow Yard and Road for the special price of $4,999 plus GCT. Free is all the craze. This crazy offer won't last long. Visit discoverflow.co or your nearest Flow store for more info. Conditions apply.
Continuing the news, one of the 4 men accused of killing businesswoman Simone Campbell Collymore allegedly told the police that her husband, Omar Collymore, was the mastermind of the murder plot. Simone and a taxi driver, Winston Walters, were shot and killed on January 2, 2018, at the entrance to her apartment complex on Stanley Terrace in Red Hills, St. Andrew. Omar Collymore is charged with the murders as well as conspiracy to murder. He's charged jointly with 3 others, Michael Adams, Dwayne Pink, and Shaquille Edwards. Robian Williams was in court.
On Tuesday, a senior policeman who interviewed the defendant, Michael Adams, told the court how Adams blurted out that he won't be holding back. The policeman, who is a witness in the matter, said the interview occurred at the Denham Town Police Station on January 29, 2018. Adams was escorted to a police station by a lawyer and a pastor on the same day. According to the lawman, after cautioning Adams, he said, quote, "Right now, me nah hold nothing, cause me have my family to live for. Him set up him wife and know him want me go down feet, and I know me alone involved." End quote. The witness said he informed Adams that he'd need an attorney, to which he responded, quote, "Me no need no lawyer, me go talk to you one-on-one and tell you we go on. Nah make my family them suffer for this." End quote. It's alleged that Adams was the person contracted to carry out the hit. He was subsequently charged with conspiracy to murder. A rental car operator previously testified how a man rented a car from his company 3 days before Simone met her demise. The operator told the court that the man signed the rental contract using a driver's license that listed his name as Michael Adams. Meanwhile, a crime officer testified how she recorded several statements in the case, including statements from Omar Collymore and his ex-sweetheart. The policewoman said Omar Collymore was taken into custody on January 27, 2018. He was released the following day after a question and answer session with his attorney. She said he was asked a total of 309 questions, but he only answered one, to confirm that his name was Omar Collymore. The policewoman said at that time Omar Collymore was being treated as a person of interest in the matter. The trial will resume on Wednesday morning at 10. Robian Williams for Nationwide News.
Education Minister Favour Williams says a special focus will be placed on students at the early childhood level in a bid to facilitate a smoother transition to the primary level. She was reacting to a statement from the Jamaica Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey, MICS, which revealed that students aged 7 to 14 are underperforming in numeracy and literacy.
Where we see the weakness is in children attending grades 2 to 3 and age 7 to 8 that we need to attend to with alacrity. But if you look at the 11-year-olds, they're scoring 77%. If you look at the 14-year-olds, they're scoring 81%. So this survey is pointing us into a particular direction. So it is saying to us that the children coming from basic schools and infant schools are not at that level where they should be for primary schools, and that we should be concentrating our efforts in those early years.
According to the MICS findings, 38% of children between age 7 and 14 have failed to acquire foundational reading skills. Only 50% acquired foundational numeracy skills. The MICS also noted the continued trend of students not attending schools for the full 5 days each week, especially at the early childhood and secondary level. The Education Minister says many parents are still engaged in the practice of sending their children to school for only 4 days per week.
We are higher than the global average in terms of children being absent from school. Yes, we understand if they're out because they're ill, but there are other reasons why parents don't send their children to school, especially on a Friday. They think, nothing's happening at school on a Friday. I want to implore parents that it is very important for their children to be in school for all the school days that we have in the year. So if you miss some of those days, you're really missing out. And it's difficult when you come back into the classroom for the teacher to pause to get you up to speed while the other children are there waiting. And so if you miss out and then you transition to another grade, it's going to compound the negative impact.
Favour Williams, Education Minister.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, empowering entrepreneurs for a better future.
The World in a Minute.
In Trinidad and Tobago, a senior policeman has been detained as investigators probe claims that he sexually assaulted his 2 daughters. The Trinidad Express newspaper says the 57-year-old police inspector was arrested just after midnight on Tuesday at his home in the Central Division of the country. The police say they responded to a report of a domestic disturbance and met with the suspect's wife, who is a police constable. She reported that her husband, the police inspector, sexually assaulted their daughters, who are aged 17 and 11.
The U.S. Supreme Court has allowed Texas to arrest and jail migrants as part of the state's new tough immigration law. Under the law known as SB 4, local and state police can arrest and prosecute those suspected of illegally crossing the Mexican border. The Biden administration has called the law unconstitutional. The decision comes a day after it was blocked by the same court while emergency appeals played out. The law is among the toughest immigration measures taken by any U.S. state in recent memory. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton hailed the decision as a huge win against the Biden administration and the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, which challenged the law in court. The ACLU vowed that it won't back down until what it calls an extreme anti-immigrant law is struck down for good.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, empowering entrepreneurs for a better future.
Recapping the top stories making the nationwide news at this hour. Mark Golding's budget speech comes to explosive, premature end after he attacked the elevation of Juliet Holness to the role of House Speaker. His comments sparked a walkout by government MPs led by Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
The Speaker is intended to be independent and must act independently of the government today. That is the tradition. That is the tradition.
Meanwhile, the opposition leader criticized the government for failing to raise the income tax threshold to the level expected by the people.
PJ Patterson and Hugh Small make startling intervention about how the compromised jury should have been handled in the Vibes Cartel murder trial. My name is George Davis.
And I'm Roby Ann Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and now the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, headlines at 6.
News at 5 was brought to you by the new Crunch Sandwich from KFC. Available in hot and spicy or barbecue for just $600. A finger-licking good deal at KFC.
A time for double up your savings. Double up the boost that you've been awaiting. Put it towards the dreams you've been chasing. Double up your savings. Double up.
Save so you can win in the Jan Bank Double Up Your Savings promotion. You could be one of 5 lucky quarterly winners to walk away with double the money you put in your savings account. Conditions apply.
Double up your savings.
Check our website and social media for details. Jan Bank will help you find a way. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Markel Smith of Kingston College advanced to the semifinals of the Class 2 boys 400 meters as the fastest qualifier on the opening day of the 2024 Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships, now on at the National Stadium. Smith, who ran in Heat 6, clocked 48.89 seconds to finish ahead of Port Antonio High School's Dante Simpson and Fogo Road High's Denzel Carter. Calabar's Nicoy Bramwell, among the favorites to capture the event, is also safely through as he won Heat 1 in 50.09. Meanwhile, Natrice East of Woolmers easily won her heat in the girls' Class 3 100 meters. East is one of the favorites to win the event, if in fact she is the favorite, and she clocked 12.42. However, St. Jago's Adora Campbell advanced with the fastest qualifying time. She logged 12.20 seconds. St. Mary High's Kalisha Bell won Heat 5 in 12.25 seconds, and Immaculate Conception High School's Kayla Johnson, who took Heat 4 in 12.32, being the other fastest qualifiers. Olympic gold medalist Brianna Williams has parted company with coach Michael Frater to join the world-renowned training camp HSI. The 21-year-old 100 and 200 meter sprinter is heading to Los Angeles in the USA, where she'll be under the guidance of John Smith. Smith is renowned in track and field circles and has been credited with guiding the careers of the Olympic champion Maurice Green and another of Brianna Williams' former coaches, Atto Bolden. Smith is also credited with conditioning the Olympic champion Marie-José Perec of France, and he was the coach of the world champion Comedita Jetta in 2009 when the American clocked 10.64 seconds at the Shanghai Grand Prix to take the unofficial title fastest woman alive. Smith currently conditions Marie-José Talou of the Côte d'Ivoire. Williams says the latest move is designed to take her career to the next level. In September 2022, Williams left Atto's training base in Florida to join Titans International. 1 year later, she joined the likes of Johan Blake and Akeem Blake, who left Titans, along with Frater, who later founded Dynamic Athletics. Williams thanked Frater for his guidance in recent months. She said, "I'm extremely grateful to Coach Frater for the work he has done to help my progress so far this season, and I wish him and the members of the Dynamic Athletics team the very best going forward." Williams' move is seen as a strategic step towards converting the promise of the young sprinter into contending for individual gold at future Olympics and World Championships. It's understood that improving her technique would be among the key goals of her work with Smith. President of the Jamaica Football Federation, Michael Ricketts, is hinting that there may be no way back for former Vice President Raymond Anderson under his administration. Ricketts and Anderson just came out of a bitter election campaign, which ended with Ricketts trouncing the former St. Mary FA boss 39-17 for his second straight full 4-year term in office. The defeat has left Anderson out in the cold, as for the first time in over 3 decades, he's not a vice president, which means he no longer sits on the board, nor is he an executive. He no longer heads a parish association. The JFF board is scheduled to meet next week, Wednesday, to select the members of the various committees, but Ricketts says they've lost confidence in Anderson because of how he campaigned.
it's going to be tough to market Raymond right now, because the truth is that, they have done so much to hurt us. They have done so much. They've been very, very unkind to us. And we've been sitting in a boardroom together as a family. Raymond used to sit to my immediate left at every board meeting. How they campaign, that's what's hurtful. Because I have no issue if he wanted to run against me. But it's how it was done and why did they have to do it that way. I literally went on my knees and I begged, let us have a clean campaign. I repeatedly used that situation with Ambassador Stevenson, that he and I went into a contest, but at no time did he try to hurt anybody's feelings. At no time at all.
And Ricketts lists what he says were several unfair tactics used by Anderson during the campaign.
They lied, they fabricated stories, they orchestrated a massive smear campaign. They went to court when there was no issue, and the court results would have been borne out here. 3 times they went to court and they lost all 3 times. They showed no regard for the Constitution. They disrespected the articles. I really want them to give football some breathing space, honestly, because we've been so unfairly treated. And it was led because of my own vice president, who chose to run against me and chose to bring some persons with me who have no interest in football, people who have never been into football.
Michael Ricketts, president of the Jamaica Football Federation. That's sports.
Hyundai, the home of modern, premium, affordable vehicles. Call us at 876-630-1511. The time by Hyundai is
5:31.
Love, care for, and protect our women and girls.
We are your family. We are your friends. Don't hurt us.
End violence against women and girls.
The temperature by the Office of the Prime Minister is
31 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 29 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Accelerate your career with the right ally. Mona School of Business and Management. Explore our suite of highly ranked, specialized, globally competitive graduate degrees, including our internationally accredited MBA program. At MSBM, we nurture critical thinkers and innovative leaders, placing our graduates in a league of their own. Join the community of trailblazers making an impact at home and abroad. Apply online today. Global knowledge, regional solutions.
Did you know that many of my schoolmates have an unhealthy diet, especially at school? And now 23% of them are overweight and or obese? And so 1 less sugary drink at my school may mean 1 friend less,
or 2 or 3,
at risk of cavities or diabetes. And if we're served less foods high in saturated fats, sugar and sodium, it may reduce our risk from obesity, heart disease and high blood pressure. The solution is simple, right? Act now. Let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools.
A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
Nationwide 90 FM, the station for the very latest in news and current affairs, will broadcast live from the No Cell Left Behind book launch. On Tuesday, March 19, and Nationwide at 5 will be at the Floor 2 Assembly at the University of the West Indies. Tune in as we inform Jamaica about this new revelation. You don't want to miss this launch. Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM from 6 to 8 p.m. That's a live broadcast of the No Cell Left Behind book launch during Nationwide at 5, Tuesday, March 19 from 6 to 8 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Office of the Deputy Principal.
Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. Stay ahead of the curve with our cutting-edge reporting and accurate breaking news coverage.
We are having an earthquake. Oh, God.
Hear it here first on Nationwide 90 FM.
Is that really clip you, Stalky?
Tune in, turn up the volume, and listen. We bring a mix of news, entertainment, and sports to your lives.
Nationwide 90 FM's live and continuous coverage of the World Championships in Budapest, Hungary.
News and discussions week mornings.
Coming up in the news at 6 for this morning.
Entertainment in the afternoons, then news again in the evenings.
Nationwide news at this hour, fired.
Also, tune into the entertainment and sports shows in the nights and on the weekends.
It is Boy Things After Dark right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
Everything is news, from current affairs and entertainment to sports, business, and other categories.
Nationwide 90 FM. This is Beanie Man. Give it to them. Zaga, Zen.
From every whisper to every commotion.
That's rubbish. The KSAMC cannot investigate itself.
Was Click News really talking like that?
Every news story unfolds here first at Nationwide 90 FM. the new revolution in media. Every sound is a story, and every story we share is news.
The Olympic Games 2024 live from Paris in France, exclusively on Nationwide 90 FM.
The Jamaican star shines bright once again. Live here halfway through the Olympic finals.
This summer, Nationwide 90 FM is coming in hot.
Jamaica to the blacks!
Nationwide 90 FM will be blazing as we bring you the games of the 33rd Olympiad live from the French capital, Paris. 16 fantastic days of competition in 41 sports.
Noveline Williams-Mills coming, the glory flapping, her arms are waving, and Noveline Williams-Mills coming through for Jamaica's goal.
The station will bring you analysis and live coverage from the opening day of competition, Friday, July 26th to the very last day of action on Sunday, August 11th.
And some parchment! Let's go! Oh, what a run!
Everything and anything Paris Olympic Games 2024 can be heard right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
It is a glittering goal for Sharika Jackson, and how they will celebrate that back in Jamaica.
We'll capture the spirit of athleticism. We'll narrate the Olympic fever, define thrilling moments, and report on the blood, sweat, and tears of the world's greatest athletes. Nationwide 90 FM is going to the Paris Olympic Games, and we're taking you with us. Tune into Nationwide 90.3, 90.5, 90.7 and 90.9 for live updates and commentary. We'll be giving the listeners a front row seat to witness excitement, triumph and memories.
And I think it was a clean sweep for the Jamaicans.
Stay tuned to Nationwide 90 FM 24/7. Experience the Paris Olympic Games 2024 right here on the Revolution in Media Nationwide 90 FM, your Olympic Center. Exclusively on Nationwide 90 FM.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And Siobhan, what an afternoon.
Quite
it was
an
in the
interesting
house.
turn, yes.
It was more than an interesting turn. It's almost historic. In my almost 35, 40 years watching the House of Representatives and public life in Jamaica, I cannot recall such an incident in the House of Representatives as we witnessed in the budget debate this afternoon. The opposition leader was well into his presentation, and I think he was scoring. Yeah? You know I'm a cricketer. Yeah?
Well, Mr. Hughes, you're definitely right. It's definitely unprecedented because I called the Parliament and asked them what will happen now that this has taken place. And they said, well, we have no precedent or anything in the standing orders to point to as to how we continue after this event.
Absolutely. There's no precedence for this. Yes? And listeners, if you haven't yet heard, the opposition leader was well into his presentation. He had been speaking for almost 2 hours and more.
Yes.
Siobhan?
Yes.
Yes. And for the opposition leader, he was scoring points because he was painting or sketching an outline of what would be the policy priorities of a PNP government if he were to win the elections next year. And the theme of his presentation, the road to change. Yes? And he was outlining a whole raft of policy ideas and prescriptions and comments on current issues. And then he went to governance.
Yes, the matter of corruption.
And corruption, yes. And then he went here, and here is a clip, yeah, which started all of this.
When the former speaker was forced to resign as a result of an integrity commission investigation, the move to replace her with the wife of the prime minister, so that the head of parliament is now the spouse of the head of government, really does not sit well with the tradition that the speaker must act independently of the government of the day. The speaker is intended to be independent and must act independently of the government today. That is the tradition. That is the tradition.
Yes,
Yes, so following that statement, Prime Minister Andrew Holness was the first to leave the chamber, followed by several government MPs. There was a verbal clash between members on opposing sides as opposition MPs shouted, "Go, go, go." Government MP Everald Warmington and opposition MP Julian Robinson had a sustained testy exchange. It was Warmington who returned to the chamber to inform the Deputy House Speaker Heroy Clark that he was duty-bound to adjourn the city due to the lack of a quorum. The PNP has only 14 MPs and the standing orders require at least 17 members to be present for any sitting of the House.
Section 7 of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives of Jamaica says the quorum of a House and of a committee of the whole House shall consist of 16 members beside the person presiding. If at any time during a sitting of the House objection is validly taken by any member that there is not a quorum present, the person presiding shall direct members to be summoned, and if at the end of 5 minutes a quorum be not present, he shall adjourn the House without question put. If at any time during a sitting of this Honourable House is now adjourned.
That was Heroy Clark, Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives.
And listeners, Siobhan, at that point, several things happened because the House was not able to reconvene. Tell us what happened next, Siobhan.
Following that, as I understand it, Mr. Golding, along with his MPs, went outside and delivered the remainder of his presentation, his budget debate presentation, to a group of PNP supporters. I also know that a press conference on the matter has been called by the opposition leader at his office on, I believe that's West King's House Road?
Yes.
And that should be on at 6 o'clock, to my understanding. I also have a bit of audio. I'm waiting for it to be run into the system from Robert Morgan. He's the information minister who has responded to the happenings in Parliament this afternoon and explained the position of the government members as to why they walked out of the chamber. But we'll have that later.
And I can tell you, Siobhan, listeners, I suspect today's developments in the House will mark the start of a long, nasty, bitter general election campaign for the next several months.
Yeah, it seems clear that going into that general elections, it's going to be no holds barred from either side. The stakes are quite high, and both parties realize that things are very tense and close between members of the electorate.
There's all to play for coming out of February 26 and the local government election results. And what we saw in the Parliament this afternoon, the opposition leader knew it was the biggest platform he will have. Yes, all eyes, all media focused, and he tried to milk it. Yes, and as I said to my colleagues on my way here, it's like a batsman in a crunch innings, and you're in your 90s looking to score the coveted century, and you went for a loose shot. And what happened? Well, tonight we're not talking about the policy options, an alternative plan for the opposition if it were to form government. We're not talking about its case to the Jamaican people to look in their direction. What are we talking about? How the Parliament descended.
Yes, how the business of the Parliament was conducted.
And his speech was aborted. That is not good politics.
And I'm not sure why the point of attack, in my opinion, this is specifically my opinion, Mrs. Holness was a duly elected member of the House of Representatives, and she was nominated not by the Prime Minister, she was nominated by Delroy Chuck, supported by the leader of opposition business, Philip Paul, in the House at the time. I believe it was September 26, 2023, and no objections were raised by either by either caucus regarding her ascendancy to that position. But it seems in the preceding months now, there have been questions raised by the opposition in terms of how she's conducted her tenure as Speaker. Okay.
Well, it is significant that you make that point because her nomination, as you say, Siobhan, was by consent of both sides of the House. What would have changed now? Except the local government elections and the politics is rife and paramount now. Everyone looking for an advantage.
Before we go to the break, Mr. Hughes, I have now that clip from Information Minister Robert Morgan as he weighs in on the walkout this afternoon.
We believe that the attack on the Speaker of the House, Mrs. Holness, was highly inappropriate. Mrs. Holness is a member of Parliament in her own right. Her nomination was seconded by the Leader of Opposition Business in the House, Philip Paulwell, and no member of the opposition voted against her nomination, which means they supported it. So for the Leader of the Opposition to now, in his budget presentation, speak so inappropriately about the Speaker of the House, raising negative specters over her reputation and her management of the House, we consider that to be very low and very desperate. And the government side has taken its stance that we will not stand for that sort of behavior, that sort of disrespect, and that sort of desperate politics.
So that is Robert Morgan, the Information Minister.
Well, we're going to take a break and come back with our cover story. Siobhan listeners, we're coming to you from the Faculty of Medical Sciences at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. It's the launch of No Cell Left Behind, a book, yes, by an outstanding young Jamaican scientist, yeah? Breakthrough research where prostate cancer is concerned. After the break.
Home is where you put down your roots. So at Sagicor Bank, we designed a mortgage with everything you need to own your home easier. Get up to 100% financing, fast processing time, up to $100,000 cash back to assist with expenses, a competitive interest rate, plus an unsecured loan of up to $2 million to go solar at home, and a special rate on home insurance. Let's help you put down your roots. Call 888 Sagicor to apply for your Sagicor Bank mortgage. Conditions apply.
KFC! The new crunch sandwich from KFC. Great flavor, great price, it's for me. KFC signature, hot and spicy. Chicken with the lettuce, mayo, fries and Pepsi. We've got you covered when you're hungry. The new crunch sandwich from KFC. We've got you covered when you're hungry. The new crunch sandwich from KFC.
Hungry for deals? Get the new crunch sandwich combo from KFC. A small hot and spicy chicken sandwich with lettuce and mayo, plus fries and a Pepsi for just $600. Also available in barbecue. A finger-licking good deal. KFC.
Go crazy for this offer from Flow. Get a free Samsung phone and earbuds when you sign up for Flow Yard and Road for the special price of $4,999 plus GCT. Free is all the craze. This crazy offer won't last long. Visit discoverflow.co or your nearest Flow store for more info. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the cover story. Now that we have gotten the matter of the walkout, we're going to now turn to get reactions to the substantive portion of Mark Golding's contribution to the budget debate. We are joined by senior lecturer at the Department of Economics in the Faculty of Social Sciences at the University of the West Indies, Mona, Dr. Christine Clark, and social commentator and economist Sandre Roden. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chris, and your listeners.
Good afternoon. Good. Let me begin with you, Dr. Christine Clark. We brought you here to deal with the substantive issues that were being addressed by Mr. Golding, but here we are. What do you make of what happened in the House this afternoon?
Well, I certainly thank you for filling me in on what happened after the walkout, because I also was wondering how this would actually be dealt with, as I also don't recall this ever happening since, I guess, I recall watching the budget debates. So thanks for indicating that there was indeed a continuation that unfortunately we did not catch. I guess I think it was unfortunate that this had to happen in this way. I think the opposition leader was almost at the end of his presentation and would have benefited from hearing, the full presentation based on what we received in text. But in terms of his presentation, I always try to see, okay, where are the minister would have started with the overall macro. I noticed, however, that the opposition leader's approach was quite specific. He had very specific proposals in terms of education. He almost was giving a sectoral kind of assessment in each area. He went into agriculture, he went into technology, citizen security, labor, very specific areas to open up. I guess, as you indicated, what his perhaps manifesto will be premised on going into the next election cycle, which I believe is soon on the horizon. So we got very specific proposals, but not necessarily a response per se to what or a counter to what the Minister of Finance would have presented in his opening presentation. So that is where I read his presentation as coming from, very specific in terms of sectoral kind of initiatives that he would want to see.
Yes. And Sandra Roden, your reaction to the development?
Well, I agree with Dr. Clark based on what we'd have heard from opposition leader Mark Golding. He came out swinging on many issues, focusing at length on many issues, when, of course, I know that a lot of people would have wanted to also hear that type of response to what Dr. Clark would have presented. But this sounded like a speech on a platform readying himself for the general elections, because he focused on wide-ranging issues and said, listen, I agree with some things the government has done, but we want to do better things. And that's kind of the theme that he was bringing out in his speech.
Mm-hmm. Siobhan?
I'd like to ask Mr. Roden, the matter of the income tax threshold being moved to 1.7, the opposition leader did address it, suggesting that instead of giving that reverse tax credit of $20,000 to everyone below the $3 million mark, instead take that money and then increase the threshold to $2 million and then possibly phase in a increase to $3 million over a longer period of time. Do you believe that makes sense, considering that that proposal would mean that only around 30% of Jamaicans would benefit from that $2 million increase?
Whenever you're looking at economic policy, you have to look at what affects the whole. And when it looks at macroeconomic policy, we have to look at that. Now, the proposal in and of itself, I won't rubbish it and say it makes no sense, because we have to look at it based on who in the society would benefit from the policy position. And what we can see is that there is a difference, at least in this specific area, as it relates to the policy positions of the JLP and the PMP when it comes on to what they are proposing. So you can't say it's necessarily rubbish, you can't say it's a bad plan, but what you can say is that the opposition would have campaigned on raising the income tax threshold more than what the government has done. And I know a lot of persons were listening to hear what his policy position was. As a matter of fact, I know I've heard in the streets a lot that people are saying, we want to hear how they're going to raise it to $3 million. And that's something that people would have wanted to hear about in the near term and not in the long term. But when you look at it and you look at what the numbers are, I know that they would have been specifically calculated to ensure that these benefits can be funded and we stay in our fiscal rules. So as long as his recommendation stays within our fiscal rules, then it's fair game for the policy that the opposition would want to implement.
And Dr. Clark, based on what Mr. Golding presented versus what his prior comments were, do you feel he delivered a satisfactory answer?
I am not sure. I mean, I think people expected, just as they expected from the finance minister to, allow the whole $3 million in one go. I think they expected to hear from our opposition leader specifically how he was going to do it. Okay, so yes, finance minister is saying it's going to cost too much to do it in one go. However, we think that instead of doing X, do Y, and therefore we would have the amount of money we needed, for it to be revenue neutral. I think, though, we should acknowledge that even though it was only moved to 1.7 by the finance minister, he did indicate that he can't do everything one time, but he's willing to do it in increments. So he's taking, this smaller step with a view, hopefully, to facilitate further rollout as the fiscal trajectory materializes based on what the models are saying. We're looking at very fast pay down of the debt. We're ahead of target, so perhaps in the future we would be able to give more in terms of those one-off kind of step changes. However, he seems to be a little bit guarded and cautious to do it in one go, as persons are kind of saying, yes, do it kind of thing. So I don't think we should overlook that, because it's not that it won't happen, it's just he wasn't willing at the time, based on whatever the models were indicating, to go all the way in one shot.
Mm-hmm. And Sandra, did you feel that this was a Mark Golding that was ready for the job in a year's time or tomorrow? Listening to him,
I think this is one of his best presentations so far. He really went in, even though the expectation would have been different as it relates to a budget debate, but he is the leader of the opposition. So all these areas that he would have to speak on are areas that, we still would need to hear from the two leaders of the opposing parties, how they plan to solve certain problems. And when he would have come out looking at, he hit at agriculture, a number of other things, and they tried to bring in research, etc. Kind of tit for tat, I would say, at the fact that Dr. Clark, has very similar presentations with deep research and comes out, but it's more macroeconomic. Mark Golding has started to present a national platform. He did come out in his three-piece suit after all. So when you look at it, he has started. I don't know if this necessarily indicates that he is ready, but this indicates that he is lacing up his boots for sure.
Yes. What about you, Dr. Clark?
I am the political scientist here, but I think, as indicated, he seems to have quite a few suggestions, ideas that he would wish to implement coming in based on, as I said, it's very manifesto-like is what I got from listening and even reading the printed text. So we will certainly see. I don't know. Again, we're just kind of halfway through the process, because this is the budget debate. Hopefully we will have a robust sectoral debate. Perhaps what we will see there, would be, on either side, it's kind of open now to see what will the ministers and their shadows present as viable alternatives for the country going forward in this fiscal year. And again, even the point he made about, the tax haul that we've been able to get because of the more robust economic performance. The idea is that now we will have more room to do more things. One way is to reduce taxes, specifically, move our rate down or move the threshold up. But the other ways on the expenditure side, we all know are infrastructural challenges. So, those additional revenues can be channeled to expenditure items. So it's a matter of deciding, okay, which one do we do at what point, depending on where the binding constraints are at a point in time.
And Dr. Clark, I'd like to put that to you, this matter of the tax increases. I know this is the third time that the opposition leader has put this in his budget presentation, where he's suggested, or put forward rather, this notion that while the tax measures have not changed, the Jamaican people are still paying more in taxes over the course of the last 4 years. As a economist, what do you make of that statement?
So I think this is an artifact of a combination of things. Certainly coming out of our IMF agreement and the efforts that have been made on the tax side to join up databases, to make the offices as more efficient as we can, to enable payments online and to facilitate the different audits and everything that happens on the administrative side. In addition to, the boost that we get from being able to just collect what we should have been collecting all along, yes, that means we can get in more dollar value. Doesn't mean that taxes, in the way we understand it, in the context of our budget, have increased. Usually when that language is used, what we're talking about is, a rate being moved or additional things being put into the tax net or additional persons or entities being included or taxed at a differential rate, a higher rate. That's normally what we expect somebody to indicate if we say taxes have increased. We have
But
not
the way
that.
the way the opposition leader has been crafting it for 2-3 years now is disingenuous.
Precisely.
It's disingenuous. Taxes have not increased.
If I come in here to say that that's what I was thinking, because when it's phrased like that, and I heard it in the speech, I was like, that is not the truth. The truth is there have been no new taxes. As a matter of fact, the legacy,
right.
The legacy
Because we wouldn't expect that to be the interpretation.
Just a moment,
No.
Doctor. Complete your thought, Sandra.
Yes, I'm saying the legacy for Dr. Clark is that he reduced taxes. He brought GCT from 16.5 to 15. That's the legacy of Dr. Clark. We have not seen any increase in taxes, and Dr. Clark put it nicely. If we have transformation of the tax administration of Jamaica, you're going to collect more. That is what it says. So
that is what has been happening.
Yeah,
we have become more efficient.
I would say, from the opposition leader.
And he shouldn't do it. He should stop it.
But I'm
It's
wondering,
misleading.
is the point of attack effective?
In what sense?
As in, is it effective? Does it get the message he hopes to get across to the Jamaican people in this notion that their tax burden is increasing? As I assume that is what he's trying to suggest.
Well, I don't know if he has succeeded in doing that, but that's not the way to do it. We don't want to turn this political economy into a Trump economy where people lie. Okay? We don't want that. So don't do that. We're not going to devalue our politics to where it is in America under Trump now. Thank you very much, Dr. Christine Clark, Sandra Roden. Thank you, Siobhan.
Thanks for
After the
having
break,
me. Thanks,
the
Siobhan.
launch of No Cell Left Behind.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs, from luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
Yes, me get the last cheese. Taste the beat. Brothers and sisters, at the end of Easter service, we have cheese. Taste the beat. But one leg, we're getting a bun and cheese. Taste the beat. Serve, sell me some bun and cheese. Taste the beat. Why, this looking nice with some tasty cheese. Taste the beat. Could I have some cheese, please? Taste the beat. Make we get on real bad with the tasty cheese, boy. Taste the beat with tasty cheese.
Stand out among competitors. Show your commitment to quality. Submit your entry in the Bureau of Standards Jamaica National Quality Awards Program. Your entry provides the opportunity for a free comprehensive assessment of your organization's management system and facilitates improvement in effectiveness and efficiency. This prestigious award associates your organization with performance excellence. Step into a world of excellence. Gain access to international markets. Enter today.
Call 618-1534. The Bureau of Standards Jamaica, making standards work for you.
Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Give me yummy. Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Give me yummy. Don't stop at just a one slice, please. No other bun, perfect for me. Yummy. For real Jamaican flavor and quality for sure this Easter. Make yummy the bun to your cheese. Yummy. Give me yummy. Yummy. Give me yummy. For the Easter. Yummy bun zeta. Yummy for me family. Yummy for me, sir. Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Give me yummy. Bun to me cheese. Bun to me cheese. Best bun. Give me yummy.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here nationwide at 5, and we're coming to you from the UWI Faculty of Medical Sciences at Mona and we're here for the launch of a very important book. Yes? It's all about prostate cancer research, and especially for men, for black men. Yes? Very, very important. It's one of the diseases that take home too many of us black men. Yeah, prostate cancer. And we're here because a young woman by the name of Dr. Simone Badal McCreath, she has written and researched a book, No Cell Left Behind, a Jamaican scientist's breakthrough to the Caribbean's first cell line. And these letters and numbers mean nothing to you until a little later. ACRJ-PC28. Okay? For students of medicine, it means a lot. Yeah? For those of us not in medicine, they don't mean a thing. Okay? And Dr. Badal McCreath is a Jamaican scientist, author, research fellow, and senior lecturer in biochemistry here at UWI-Mona. And as I said, she specializes in prostate cancer treatment research. She was born in Kingston, yes, and she studied at Meadowbrook High School, after which she went on to UA and majored in biochemistry and chemistry, acquiring a Bachelor of Science degree with honors, a Master of Philosophy, and a PhD. Bright woman. Bright, bright. She also acquired, listen to this, she also acquired an MBA in International Relations. Yeah? So she jumped from studying medicine, prostate cancer, and then she could do an MBA in International Relations. She not normal. She not normal. She has been the recipient of the internationally acclaimed award, Elsevier, I hope I got that right, Early Career Women Scientist in Chemical Sciences 10 years ago in 2014, representing Latin America and the Caribbean region, one of only 5 prizes awarded globally. Yes? And in a brief look at the book, yes, Yvonne Shem, or Ywilan Shem, yeah, the executive director of the foundation, said this, yeah, and I feel proud as a Jamaican. This book is a critical contribution to inclusive health and lays bare the historic blind spots in cancer research over the past decades. It's no surprise that Dr. Badal McCreath is once again breaking new ground. In 2014, she won the Elsevier Foundation OWSD Award for Early Career Researchers in Developing Countries. Yes, for her contributions to biochemistry, promising great things in her work to advance Caribbean science. And here we are. She has delivered. Good evening.
Good evening, Cliff.
How are you?
I'm good.
And this must be a proud moment for you.
It is. It is.
And the journey?
A long one.
Long one.
Mm-hmm.
Started at Meadowbrook?
St. Richard's Primary.
Oh, you went to St. Richard's too?
I did.
On Red Hills Road?
Yes.
Yeah.
I lived off Red Hills Road. I lived in one of the inner city communities, Blackwood Terrace.
Blackwood Terrace?
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
So this, well, how should I put it? This interest in medicine and science started how, when, and where?
Meadowbrook High. I think in grade 9, we were given the choice. Well, we were encouraged to choose subjects, either business subjects, arts, or the sciences. So you couldn't have like a mixture then. And I was pretty good or decently okay at the sciences. And I said, okay, let me go there. At that time, if you were in the sciences, the career focus was medicine. So I had my heart set on being a medical doctor. So my trajectory was to come here and get a degree in medicine.
Yes.
And that just didn't happen.
How come?
In a lecture, in final year, I had a lecturer who came in and he spoke about his research, which was in diabetes. I was blown away. He came in with a chalk and he just spoke from his memory. And he exuded so much passion for his research. And when class was up, I approached him and said, "Can I be your master's student?" And that was it.
Just like that?
Just like that.
After one lecture?
Yes. That's the God working.
Yeah.
Yep.
So your research journey really
began
took
with
off.
him. So I actually did my Master's of Philosophy degree with him. And that degree was in diabetes. So we looked at, there are certain drugs that people take that release nitric oxide. So we wanted to see if there was a propensity for persons taking these drugs to develop diabetes. And we found some interesting findings from that to say that they are predisposed to diabetes.
Oh?
Oh. So it was interesting, and I actually wanted to do my PhD in that. But it just didn't work.
So how did it shift to prostate cancer research?
Wow, that's a long journey. So I left there and I worked as a research assistant at TMRI for 1 year.
That's Tropical
Research Medicine Institute or Medical Institute. And I actually was saying, okay, let's do a PhD here. And then I got fired.
Oh, they fired you? What did you do?
A brilliant job. The truth is, the funding for one of the projects, there was no more funding, so they couldn't have, they couldn't keep us all on. So my intention was to do my MBA after my PhD. But at that point, I said, okay, perhaps I should go ahead and go do my MBA. And my intention was not to do my PhD here after that. It was to do it at Cambridge.
Yeah.
So I went to London, I did my MBA there, I applied to Cambridge, and I got through. But I came back here. You know, the heart, love, you want to de-stress, unwind, and one thing led to the next, and I was back here doing my PhD.
And you turned down Cambridge, didn't take up the offer?
Apparently not.
Who are you looking at down there? Who is down there while you're looking at?
But yes, and my PhD research was not in prostate cancer, actually.
Oh.
We looked at, the project had 2 areas. We wanted to screen, or I screened several Jamaican natural products to see if they could prevent cancer and if they could treat cancer. And Cliff, we saw some really promising products.
Yeah.
And my intention was to take the research to the next level. Because drug development in cancer research typically occurs in 3 steps. The first step is you look at the efficacy of these lead molecules in what we call cell lines. And if you identify promising products, you then take it to what we call animal models. Typically, we use mice. And from there, you take it to human beings, clinical trials. So my first step was in the cell lines. And we identified some products that were more effective in killing the cancer cells than known drugs on the market. Some of them were safer.
Oh.
So I was elated, you know.
Products like?
Well, a lot of them are novel ingredients. So we looked at products like quashinoids, chrominamides, and I'm going to be talking somewhat about this on my lecture on Thursday. We looked at glycosides from different plants, Amaris plumeri, Castella macrophylla, just to name a few.
All right, you begin to lose us now.
Yeah, but we identified a lot of promising products. But
prostate cancer now, when
I said, okay, we need to take this to animal models. And when I was putting the application together, my brain was now decluttered so I could look at the results a bit more. And I realized that the cell lines that I used in my project were all Caucasian cell lines. So it got me down a lot of thinking. If I do want to develop these products, I want to be a part of the development as these ingredients as anti-cancer drugs. But it's more important for me that these drugs that we are hoping to develop are effective in treating cancers in our own people first, before treating anybody else's cancer. So
Black people. Yeah. So the cell line, first of all, tell us, what is a cell line?
these are cells that you take from the body and you grow them in a cell culture lab indefinitely over a period of time.
Yes.
It sounds simple, but it's actually a very challenging piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it took scientists decades to get it right. Like the first human cell line, as I was telling you earlier, was developed in 1951, and this is after attempts from in the 1800s to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, I mean, the thinking is, if you can grow these cells outside, there's so much information that you can uncover at the cellular level, as opposed to starting the research at the animal level that's more complex. You want to understand the specific targets, signaling pathways that the drugs actually impact. And you can do that when you grow the cells outside of them.
So the cell lines you had available at the start were all Caucasian, nothing of black people.
We just grabbed our hands on readily available cell lines, so cell lines that any typical lab would use. And
why is that so important? Yes, to get the cell line of, for example, a black man. Black, you know, why is that so important?
because there's so many differences between the cell lines, between black and white, the genetic makeup, the social environment. And what we recognize is when you look at the overarching epidemiology of, say, prostate cancer. So let's take two cancers of concern for us, prostate and breast. Black men are more prone to developing prostate cancer, one, and two, they have higher death rates or mortality rates. They're 2.5 times more likely
to die of prostate cancer.
And then when you look further, the drugs that are being used by both blacks and white, they're more effective in someone who is white.
Yeah.
So the entire scheme that we're using to develop drugs, anti-cancer drugs, and to understand cancers, it's skewed towards Caucasians, leaving us behind.
Yeah.
And so we need persons to come on board to help us to make it more equal. Whatever drugs are being developed should equally benefit our blacks.
So the breakthrough came with the development of the cell line of...
From a black man here, a Jamaican man.
Oh, it was a Jamaican man? Oh, tell us about that. Are we up on the break? No, we don't need to take the break now. This is interesting. So, tell me about it. Come on, tell me.
Yes.
In Jamaica?
In Jamaica, right. So I work with different clinicians. And for the prostate cancer work, I have different urologists that are on the team. So we coordinate with them to identify men who have prostate cancer. And we approach them and we get their informed consent. So if they go in the clinic for a regular procedure, like to do a biopsy, you know, you take that, we can take the biopsy from the patient, go to the lab and work on it.
And the biopsy is?
Like just some sample from the prostate.
Okay, yeah.
Transrectal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're trying to communicate, right? So,
right.
so
is that some tissue sample from the prostate? So if you go in with an enlarged prostate and you're not sure what's happening, and the doctor needs to verify, do you have cancer? You go in, they insert a needle in your prostate and they pull out some of that tissue sample, and we can access some of that. Go in the lab and see if it actually works for us. Do we get viable cells? Do these cells replicate indefinitely?
So that did work from that?
It worked eventually. We had to go through numerous samples, and it took us 5 years to get it right.
5 years? To get a sample right?
to get the cells. So we were collecting cells over 5 years. But each time we got cells, they just either would not survive or something else would happen. So after 5 years, we got it right. In 2020, when the world was experiencing COVID.
Yeah.
It worked for us.
And when you say it worked for us, yes, what does that mean in terms of the laboratory work and the testing and the work that you have to do now? You get your cell and you said, this is working, talk to me.
So after we grew the cells in what we call a selection media, so we had to do, I don't want to get too scientific, but we had to do some sort of transformation on the cell line. And we saw that the cells were actually growing, so they had survived that media, the selection process. We then had to take a sample overseas for them to say, yes, you have done what you've done, because we can't just go say, hey, we've developed a prostate cancer cell line. On what merit did you develop it?
Right.
And so there are 3 checks that this company typically uses. 1, is this cell line actually from human beings? 2, is this novel? Because they have a database of existing cell lines, so they can compare our line, and it checked that, plus our cell line was free from contamination. So we passed all those checks. You would think after 5 years that would be enough for us to say, yes, we've done it, but no. The journey had literally just begun. So we had to go on a series of what we call characterization assays. We had to prove that this is prostate. Is this cell line likely to form tumors if you inject it in mice models? What sort of targets is this cell line expressing? So we did all of that, and we were able to publish that in 2022. And subsequently, we've licensed it with one of those cell line companies in Canada. Yep.
So when did you begin to take seriously the need to write and to document what we now have in this?
I wrote that book before we actually did the cell line work. So in 2019, I remember I took 2 weeks off. I went to my dad's house in Mandeville, and I started to just journey, just write a chapter a day. And it took me less than 2 weeks. I had put together 12 chapters. And I left it where it was at that point to say we hadn't yet done it, but this is what we have done so far. So it's pretty much a journey that I chronicled. And shortly after, the cell line was created the following year. Yep.
Good. We're talking with senior lecturer and anti-cancer researcher in the Faculty of Medical Sciences at UW Mona, Dr. Simone Badal McCreath. Stay with us. This is Nationwide at 5, with a difference this evening.
I've been hearing about this constitutional reform thing. You know anything about it?
Yes, constitutional reform is a chance for us to Jamaicanize the constitution.
But how?
Enough things changed since 1962, and we have matured as a nation. So modernizing the constitution will reflect our current societal values.
Oh, a constitution for Jamaicans, approved by Jamaicans.
Are you ready for the journey? Join us on the road to Republic. Think independence, think Republic. A message from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
Azen Super Center in Midtown Crossroads, a place you've come to know and trust for quality and the best prices. Now, come see our expanded range of products, fine furnishings, kitchenware, your smart TVs, and all things electronics, and the latest in curtains, bed linen, and bathroom accessories. It's the new and expanded Azen Super Center in Midtown Crossroads with convenient, safe, and free parking. Shop with a smile at Azen Super Center.
You have been asking for justice. Well, get justice.
The Ministry of Justice presents Get Justice, a program focused on giving Jamaicans information on how to resolve their conflicts and access justice services. The series will highlight the justice services of the ministry to include social justice, estate planning, legal aid, and expungement. Join the discussion by calling 876-630-93714 or participate via their social media pages at MOJ Official JM on X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Get Justice with the Ministry of Justice every Thursday at 11 a.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM. The new revolution in media.
MOJ Ministry of Justice. Come access quality service.
MOJ taking justice to the people of Jamaica.
It doesn't matter where you sit or how much money you have. Economy and first class come together as one at takeoff and landing. What about relationships? Is it easier for socially unequal people to have a one-entry stamp in a relationship passport than multiple indefinites with someone they know doesn't match their social status? Come on, we've all heard countless stories of couples who crumble the minute one has achieved more and needs to move on and find a more suitable circle. But social barriers can't put borders on intimacy. So why does it cause relationships to sink? Join me, Rodney Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic: does social imbalance tip the scales against couples carrying the weight of a relationship?
Brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed.
Welcome back to Nationwide at 5. We are at the UWI Mona campus in the Faculty of Medical Sciences this evening for the launch of a book. It's called No Cell Left Behind. No Cell, as in C-E-L-L, Left Behind. A Jamaican scientist's breakthrough to the Caribbean's first cell line, ACRJ-PC28. ACRJ-PC28. She's Dr. Simone Badal McCreath. Yeah, that means nothing to me.
I know. ACRJ is really the name of our lab, Anti-Cancer Research Jamaica.
Okay.
And PC,
now it makes sense.
PC is prostate cancer.
Cool.
And 28 is the 28th sample that it took us to make the cell line.
28 samples?
Yep.
And that cell line you can now nurture and sustain out in the lab?
Yes, we have it frozen. So when you're not using it, you typically freeze it at like liquid nitrogen temperatures, like minus 146 degrees Celsius. Oh. So we have, when we're not using it, and that's how you can access these lines over decades.
And this research is being done here at Mona?
Here. But we do have collaborations, So we collaborate with Fox Chase Cancer Center and Temple University. So one of my key collaborators, her name is Professor Camille Reagan.
Oh, we're going to be speaking with her in a little while.
So she has been instrumental. You can understand that there are things that we would need to get done here that we don't have. And it's my goal that we can do everything in-house eventually. And limit, not necessarily that you don't want to collaborate, but why can't we do everything here? Why do we have to rely or depend on collaborations to get certain things done? That is how we have actually lost intellectual property over the years.
Right.
But she's been a major supporter of our work, and the cell line, however, was created here.
So tell me, Dr. McCreath, what's your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal is for us to have a cutting-edge anti-cancer research facility that can facilitate all the necessary screening on our natural products, warranting their clinical trials investigations for black men and women with cancer. That is my ultimate. I may not see that in my lifetime. And that's why I have my students here.
But you have started.
I've started.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a long journey to get there.
They call you the Usain Bolt in the lab? Why?
I don't know if they call me the Usain Bolt. Maybe my editor mentioned that.
Oh?
Because I have been published in leading journals. So when you are a scientist, it is your hope, well, for me, to publish in Nature. You know, it's like
That's
Usain
huge.
to Olympics.
Yes.
And we've done it. We've published in Nature. Well, I've done it 3 times, and I'm hoping to go for a 4th publication.
Wow.
Yes.
How long you been teaching?
7 years?
7 years.
Or perhaps more.
Yeah.
I think I started teaching when I was doing my PhD, actually.
Yeah.
I was teaching at
So,
UTech.
some of your students are here.
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, students. Good evening. Yes. And it's good to have you here. And if you will, if any one of you would like to ask a question or to follow up, yeah, just show a hand. Yes, we have a microphone here. Yes, to facilitate you. That young man seems like as if he's ready. Yeah, are you ready?
He's ready to talk.
No, he says give him a moment or two. You're shy? But how do you find teaching and researching here at UWI, Mona?
I find it much more rewarding now than when I just started. And I think the more I actually do what I teach my students, the more impact I have with them, the more they can connect with what I'm saying. So there's one course that I teach that's called ANAT 3109. And that course...
ANAT?
ANAT, short for anatomy.
Okay.
So that course covers the principles of cell culture. And I go there and I teach them at the beginning about cell lines and who has created what cell lines. But now I can go in and say, hey, we've done it here.
Yes.
And the entire attitude changes. Because there is this notion among our students that, okay, I'm just here for a degree and then I'm going to go abroad. Because if I actually need something of substance, I can't get it here. And when they see persons like us, and there are so many others of us, doing tangible work, not just talking about it, but you're actually doing it, it makes it so much more rewarding. So it's a lot for me. And I do have my students, like mentoring my postgraduate students, and I hope they know this, that they actually do mean a lot to me.
Yes.
Yes.
And your team of researchers, how large is that?
Some of them are here. Dr. Rory Thompson.
Where's Rory Thompson? Oh, there he is.
I have a big team, over 10 persons, several clinicians, urologists, radiologists, oncologists, and Rory is a pathologist. He's a superstar.
Oh.
On my team, yes. I do have a wonderful team of persons. I don't know if Professor John Linde is here. He's not directly on my team, but he's a major supporter of mine.
Oh, wow. And research is not easy. It requires...
You guys should talk about this.
To be a very good researcher requires several attributes: persistence, diligence, perseverance. Yeah.
An investigative mind.
Exactly, an inquisitive mind. Why? What is happening here? How are we doing in that respect in terms of the students you see coming to you at Mona?
That's a tough question. You have a mix. I can say no, my team. And the truth is, my first PhD student, he's now Dr. Henkel Valentine, he was brilliant. My second student, master's, she was quite brilliant. She's now at Oxford. And I actually have a brilliant team now. But I've had to go through more and sift through so that they understand that, okay, if you're going to do research, you have to have a certain makeup. Research isn't just about, oh, this looks good and I want to do it. If you don't have that makeup, that tolerance, and that inquisitive mind, it will kill you. Because there are so many persons who've come here and they have left after 8 years with nothing. So you have to...
You mean they started the PhD and Went as far as 8 years.
Or less, with nothing, yeah.
Wow.
So I'm finding with my team, I have a wonderful set of students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Dr. McCreath, when you're not in the lab, what do you do? You know? When you're not in the lab, what do you do?
I work all the time, okay? But I also Netflix and chill. And I do like to entertain. I don't entertain as much as I'd want to, but I do like to have friends over. I do love to cook. My husband is here, and he can tell you.
Is he looking at them?
I am very domesticated.
Where? Oh, there he is. Yes.
So I do cook. I'm also, some persons will say anal when it comes to being organized and clean. So yeah.
That's an attribute of a researcher, a successful one. Yeah. So here we are, No Cell Left Behind. Tell us how we can get the book.
So the publishers, my editor is here. We have books here. It's on Amazon. It's also at the bookshop, the University Bookshop. Is there anywhere else? That's it. Yeah.
On Amazon?
It's on Amazon.
Good. And how much does it go for?
I think it's $19 US.
Okay. 3,700.
Jamaican. Okay.
Yeah, Jamaican. All right. We're going to take the break and come back. Yeah, let's go to the break and come back.
We're celebrating 79 years of quality and style at the Ashley Furniture Home Store. We're giving you, our valued customers, 79 discounted styles with up to 50% off dining, lounge, and bedroom pieces. Plus, get 30% off Dacmore pieces with the purchase of an Atlantic Queen or King bed frame. Get a free oversized chair with the purchase of a Belzani 2-piece lounge set. Financing is available. The Ashley Furniture Home Store. This is home. Offers end March 31. Conditions apply.
Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
When you're good, you're just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You go off and buy this bag. So good, it's just so good. Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
National Baking Company, just so good.
Nationwide 90 FM, the station for the very latest in news and current affairs, will broadcast live from the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce Expo at the Montego Bay Convention Center on Saturday, March 23. Design Studio and Outside with Pepita will be on the ground at the expo, interacting with patrons, vendors, and describing the atmosphere. Tune in to Nationwide 90.3, 90.5, 90.7, and 90.9, or our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live from 1 to 4 p.m. for this special broadcast. That's a live broadcast of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce Expo at the Montego Bay Convention Center during Design Studio and Outside with Pepita, Saturday, March 23 from 1 to 4 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
This broadcast is brought to you by the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, Weather Shield Limited, Discount Lumber and Hardware, RSD Shipping Agency, Kalen's Distribution Limited, and Kingston Printery and Business Solutions.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes, and we are coming to you from the UWI Mona campus, the Institute of Medical Sciences. We're at the launch of Dr. Simone Badal McCreath's book, No Cell Left Behind, a Jamaican scientist's breakthrough to the Caribbean's first cell line. And Dr. McCreath is here with several of her students and colleagues. And one of her students, introduce yourself and ask your questions, sir.
Hi, good evening. I am Christoph Frank, and my question to Dr. Badal.
No, you're going to introduce yourself, though. What you're studying here.
I am one of her volunteer student researchers currently in the anti-cancer lab.
Okay.
Right. So my question to Dr. Badal is, I know you spoke about using these cell lines to screen drugs. So how has the screening process been now that this line has been developed, and what does it mean for us as Jamaican men?
Thank you, Christoph. That's a very good question.
Very good question.
We've actually begun screening, but not on an extensive basis. And so far, we're noticing some interesting observations. Like, we screened several drugs against our novel cell line, and we compared the results with known established white prostate cancer cell lines. And we observed that where the 5 drugs actually impacted the white cell lines, only 1 drug affected our cell line. The other 4 showed absolutely no impact.
Say that again, slowly for us to understand.
So we looked at 5 drugs, known drugs now, and we screened them. So we exposed these drugs to our novel line and to other white prostate cancer cell lines.
Right.
And of the 5, only 1 showed impact on our cell line, while all 5 impacted the white prostate cancer cell lines.
So that is the most promising one for us.
Well, it's a known drug. What it's showing you is the disparity in the efficacy of the drugs that are on the market treating prostate cancer.
Yes.
For blacks and whites.
And how do you use that information now? Yeah? What do you do with that information now?
Well, the first thing is to get it published. So we're analyzing the data. And Christoph asked because he's one on the project as well.
Okay.
So he's tasked with Ashley and to put certain sections of the manuscript together. And we're hoping to get it published in, our standards are high. We just go in high impact factor journals, right? In a good journal. So that's the first step. And then the goal is to expand the number of cell lines that we have so that we can test our natural ingredients against them. So we need to have, it's like a strategic move.
Yeah.
So my focus is expanding the cell lines, and then we can collaborate with the Department of Chemistry, get access to their natural ingredients, and screen them.
Oh. And in terms of, I'm looking at the economics of this now. Yes? You could get to a place where you develop a drug that is very, very powerful for black men.
We could, and we hope to. That's our hope.
You could be onto something here. That industry is...
It's promising.
Yeah.
So we need funding. We need to outfit our lab with additional equipment, additional reagents.
Or lab here at Mona?
There. Yes.
Uh-huh.
So we actually have a lab tour scheduled tomorrow with certain persons from the private sector and government. All towards a hope. We want to show person, make it tangible that this is what we have going and this is a vision, and welcome persons to collaborate, to participate in what we're doing, to help us to get there even faster.
But this is the kind of thing that should be top of the item for our research and development support from the government. Make the case for that.
Cliff, come on, you do it for me.
No, seriously, this could be a game changer, to develop a locally produced drug. Yes, that can be the go-to for African American men, black men with prostate cancer.
Yes.
Yeah, this could be a huge spinner.
We're working at it. My students can tell you, we do not rest. We are working.
And how do you protect your research? Because that is a major problem to, people with thief your work.
And that is why we want to ensure that we do it here. So a lot of times you lose IP when you collaborate with other persons.
Intellectual property.
Right.
IP.
And so you come to the table with, this is all I have done, while they do like 90% of the work. So you can't claim most of the intellectual property for work that you've only contributed 10%, which has been the case for us over the years. Because we don't, not that we don't have the intellectual capacity, because we do. We have brilliant people here. But we don't have the equipment that we need to get this done. So we have oftentimes lost that through that type of collaboration. So if we can ensure that we strengthen our foot by coming to the table with more substantive data, then we can secure our IP. And of course we have lawyers here to help us to get that protected at every step of the way.
And the best prospects would not only be central government, but the Jamaican private sector.
Yes.
And at the regional level as well, I would think, regional governments. This could be a boon for us in the Caribbean.
I think so.
Yeah. So what do you have planned for tomorrow? You said you have a lab tour?
We have a lab tour, It's a small lab tour with select persons. And we were hoping to get some ministers. But my deputy principal is here. He could probably chime in.
Yes, Professor Reed?
Yes.
Professor Reed, come forward. Let's go to the break and come back. Yes? With Professor Marvin Reed.
Home is where you put down your roots. So at Sagicor Bank, we designed a mortgage with everything you need to own your home easier. Get up to 100% financing, fast processing time, up to $100,000 cash back to assist with expenses, a competitive interest rate, plus an unsecured loan of up to $2 million to go solar at home, and a special rate on home insurance. Let's help you put down your roots. Call 888 Sagicor to apply for your Sagicor Bank mortgage. Conditions apply.
Know your numbers and take control of your life. Don't wait till it's too late. Check your doctor today. Yeah. Get a BMI check, your blood pressure check, your blood sugar and cholesterol check. We're living well when we stay on top of our health. Know your numbers and take control of your life. Don't wait till it's too late. Check your doctor today. Know your numbers and take control.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The Olympic Games 2024 live from Paris in France, exclusively on Nationwide 90 FM.
The Jamaican star shines bright once again. Live here halfway through the Olympic finals.
This summer, Nationwide 90 FM is coming in hot. Jamaica to the blacks! Nationwide 90 FM will be blazing as we bring you the games of the 33rd Olympiad live from the French capital, Paris. 16 fantastic days of competition in 41 sports.
Noblin Williams-Mills coming, McCrory flapping, her arms are waving, and Noblin Williams-Mills coming through for Jamaica's goal.
The station will bring you analysis and live coverage from the opening day of competition, Friday, July 26th to the very last day of action on Sunday, August 11th.
And some parchment, let's go! Oh, what a run!
Everything and anything Paris Olympic Games 2024 can be heard right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
It is a glittering goal for Sharika Jackson, and how they will celebrate that back in Jamaica.
We'll capture the spirit of athleticism. We'll narrate the Olympic fever, define thrilling moments, and report on the blood, sweat, and tears of the world's greatest athletes. Nationwide 90 FM is going to the Paris Olympic Games, and we're taking you with us. Tune into Nationwide 90.3, 90.5, 90.7, and 90.9 for live updates and commentary. We'll be giving the listeners a front row seat to witness excitement, triumph, and memories.
And I think it was a clean sweep for the Jamaicans.
Stay tuned to Nationwide 90 FM 24/7. Experience the Paris Olympic Games 2024 right here on the Revolution in Media Nationwide 90 FM, your Olympic Center. Exclusively on Nationwide 90 FM.
Welcome back. It's 10 minutes going up to 7 here in Jamaica, where it's nationwide at 5, coming to you from the UWI Medical Sciences. We're talking with one of our best and brightest, yes, Dr. Simone Badal McCreath, about her book, yes, No Cell Left Behind. And we're going to be joined on the phone now from Philadelphia in the United States of America, an Associate Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. She is Professor of Cancer Prevention and Control Program at the Fox Chase Cancer Center in Philly. She's also founder of the African Caribbean Cancer Consortium, AC3, Camille Reagan. Good evening, Professor Reagan.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine, and good to have you with this launch, book launch. You're live on the radio in Jamaica. Yes, and I hear you're a Jamaican girl.
Yes, absolutely. Born and raised.
Where in Jamaica were you born?
I was born in Kingston, grew up in Portmore. My family is actually from St. Thomas.
Wow. So you went to school in Jamaica?
I did. I went to St. Andrew High School.
Oh, you went to St. Andrew, as they say,
I
St.
did.
Andrew. Well, tell me, Professor Reagan, you are now a leading scientist in cancer research for African American, African Caribbean people. How is that going?
It's going really well. Our consortium has been in existence for a little under 20 years, about 17 years, and we have just made so many strides to address cancer by simply sharing and collaborating and lifting each other up in the process. Mm-hmm. It's been a great, great experience.
So here we are at the launch of Dr. Badal McCreath's book. How did you meet her and that partnership so far?
Well, it probably was about maybe 8 years ago. I received an email from her, from Dr. Badal, and the inquiry was related to a grant application, I believe, that she was planning to submit to the U.S. I believe the call was coming from the Department of Defense. And that particular call actually stipulated as part of the application, they encouraged that applicants should try to collaborate with a number of consortia that existed, and of course AC3 was one of them. And so I guess she did the homework and reached out, and we talked about it, and that was history. Everything took off from there.
And since then, the collaboration, the assistance to the team here?
It has been amazing. Really great collaboration. We have developed between us, a number of different projects that we have ongoing. But of course, most importantly, the accomplishment that she has made with regard to establishing the cell line and doing all that great work there at University of the West Indies really certainly has been a lovely opportunity for me to be, able to be connected to that or a part of that process.
And if you will, Professor Reagan, for the listeners, yes, how groundbreaking has the work been in terms of the push towards, fighting cancer among black people? How groundbreaking is that work?
Well, this is major stuff. This is big time major stuff. When we look at cell lines that are available today, outside of what Dr. Badal has already developed, we find that the majority of these cell lines are from Caucasian patients. And there are a lot of implications related to that, as you can imagine, when it comes to drug discovery and therapeutics and how certain cells respond to certain drugs. And these are the drugs that are now provided to patients who have cancer. And so the fact that there are very, very limited numbers of cell lines that are derived from people of African ancestry, people from the Caribbean, people from Jamaica. That in itself is a major feat, because now there is an opportunity to really ensure that the trials that need to be done to be able to test therapies to determine how effective it is in treating the cancer, it can now be done in a cell line from an individual of African ancestry. That's a major accomplishment. So I really take my hat off to Dr. Badal for that.
And from where you sit, from your perspective, Professor Reagan, what are some of the biggest challenges, being faced by researchers working in this field?
Yes, so there are obviously a lot of challenges. We find, especially in the Caribbean in general, we know that researchers have, in addition to, the responsibility of moving forward the science, there's also a heavy responsibility in terms of teaching, because that is just how the system is. So the time availability to be able to really focus and get the science done can sometimes be a challenge. But I think one of the biggest challenges is the resources and the funding, the time to be able to write grants to get the funding that is needed, because you need those funds to be able to have the necessary equipment and all of the things that need to be done in terms of the experiments and the setting up of things to be able to achieve, the goal in terms of the science and the research. So those are the major challenges that I see. And, these are things that we continue to try to address as best as possible.
Yes. And Dr. Badal McCreath was telling me about the challenge of identifying, funding to improve the ecosystem of the research here in Jamaica. In the United States, where you are, do you have a more receptive private sector, private entrepreneurs beating down your doors or not?
Yes, there is. There definitely is an opportunities to get funding through the private sector, as well as through, the government itself, because of the way the U.S. is set up. We do have a system in place where the federal government provides funding, funds, or I should say dollars, that we can write grants to get funding. So it is a little bit easier although it is still very competitive. But at least we know that there are resources that are available to us as researchers in the U.S. to be able to access funds.
Well, given Jamaica's size and challenges, what lessons can we learn, if anything, from your experience there, Professor Reagan? And it's a similar question I want to put to Dr. Badal McCreath. What can we do better here in terms of R&D funding?
You know, that's a really important question. I think that there are obviously the need to really allow the investigators to have the opportunity to really have more time to be able to focus on grant writing, having the opportunity to partner with those perhaps who may have access to funding that may be able to facilitate some of the foundational work that might be needed. A lot of times when you write grants, there's preliminary information that you need to provide, and not having that sometimes doesn't give you a great chance of getting the application funded because it's not as strong or cemented, so to speak. So if there are opportunities to work with others to develop preliminary data, that helps to bring forth an even stronger application. And so collaboration is really key in that space. Researchers in the Caribbean have the ability to apply for some of these funds that are in the United States. The NIH funds that we have available to us are open for any investigator around the world to apply. But it is very competitive, and part of that has a lot to do with the preliminary information that needs to be done or gathered prior to the application. And I think that's where sometimes the challenge comes in, especially because of limited resources. But through collaboration, you can get that preliminary data done, and that helps to increase your chances of getting more funding coming in to the island.
What say you on that, Dr. McCreath?
I think even you being here today is a positive move because our current principal, Professor Denzel Williams, working with Professor Marvin Reed, our deputy principal, they see the value in this work, and it's through their efforts why all this attention is being had. So it's good. It's a good time for me to be doing work, having this support. Outside of that, it's just me fighting with my collaborators to get the funds. So I'm certain with this cushion, it will make life much easier for me and for the team. So I'm just really happy.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much, Professor Camille Reagan. She is Professor of Cancer Prevention and Control Program at the Fox Chase Cancer Center in Philadelphia. Thank you so much, Professor, and all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Good. This is Nationwide at 5.
Yes, me get the last cheese. Taste the beat. Brothers and sisters, at the end of Easter service, we have cheese. Taste the beat. But one leg, we get no bun and cheese. Taste the beat. Serve, sell me some bun and cheese. Taste the beat. Why, this will go nice with some tasty cheese. Taste the beat. Could I have some cheese, please? Taste the beat. Make we get on real bad with the tasty cheese, boy. Taste the beat with tasty cheese.
Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
When you're good, you're just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You go off and buy this bag. So good, it's just so good. Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
National Baking Company, just so good.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Nationwide at 5. It's 3 minutes after 7 o'clock, and we're going to be joined now by the acting deputy principal at UWI Mona and deputy dean of research at the Faculty of Medical Sciences, Professor Marvin Reed. Good evening, Professor.
Good evening, Cliff.
How you do?
I'm good, man. I know you like breaking news, you know.
Yes, I do.
Yes, and I have a breaking news for you.
I like to report breaking news.
Yes, and I have a breaking news for you.
That is?
The book that you're going to be writing, called No News Left Behind, I'll be here to interview you.
No news left.
No news.
I don't know how to take that one. But tell me, what we're here this evening, yes? Very, very important.
Yes, it is.
In terms of not only its practical benefits, but in terms of the scholarship, yeah, and the reputation of the university, yeah. You must be proud.
Oh, extremely proud. The university has been in existence last year. We celebrated our 75th anniversary. And towards the end of that, there were some in civil society who were questioning the value of the university, which we think was a misguided kind of a criticism. But we take these things on our cheek and we move forward. We, in this ensuing 75 years that we're going to be going on, we want to foster a partnership with civil society, the public sector, the private sector, and academia. In an effort to not only show what value we bring to society, because one of the things, if you recall, there was an issue with funding of the university, and there are some who would question whether or not some of that funding should be diverted to early childhood education and that sort of a thing. But the truth be told is that no modern society is going to progress without activity at the university level. And so what we've been doing is this activity is part of what we call our advocacy profile, really to create or set the environment that will allow this collaborative effort between the four pillars that I just mentioned to actually accelerate Jamaica's development.
Mm-hmm. And it's a difficult time for the University of the West Indies.
All the times are difficult, but within difficulty there are lots of opportunities.
Sure,
right.
Sure. And groundbreaking research like this is an opportunity for you to not only self-finance, but also attract more contribution from central government and private sector to step up.
And I agree, and I'm glad that you saw and posit that is actually an opportunity. And we here, certainly from the executive management of the university, are of that view. And it's within that context that we have been very deliberate in our strategy in terms of bringing together what we consider the pillars so that we can get the funding that we need for the next 75 years of our existence.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of what role you played, yes, in ensuring that what Dr. Badal, McCreath and their students and their team have achieved was realized. What was the role of the university?
Well, the university does two things primarily. We invest in people, so we invest in our students or faculty members to ensure that they can maximize their potential as best as possible. And in that investment, one of the key things that we do is to try and ensure that we provide an environment, physical resources that they would need, as well as one of the things that we're now doing to provide some of what we call the ecosystem that they're going to be needing to be even more successful. So we're trying to strengthen the ecosystem component, where we have revamped our business development office, which will be part of the activities or the initiatives that will help commercialize some of the activities here that Dr. Badal is doing, to help, as you quite rightly says, with the financial outlay or the financial status of the university.
Mhm. And how are those efforts going? Is the message getting out there? Are people from the marketplace biting, as we would say?
Well, we have a multi-pronged strategy, as we say. Certainly on the new executive team, which just took effect in August of last year, we are approaching all our stakeholders with the positive message that the university is good. We have good talent. We have good people. We should be the source. And I heard your interview earlier with our economist as part of the response. And so I know you have heard the message that when you need good commentary, you need good analysis, the first place for you to come to is the University of the West Indies.
As it ought to be.
It should be.
Yes, it's our leading research university in the region.
And we continue.
It helps to define who we are as Caribbean people.
That is correct. And we
Despite
want to maintain
efforts to slander, I'm a product of this university.
I'm glad you agree. So we work hard at supporting our colleagues, not just in medicine, but all the other 7 faculties that we have here in the Bona campus. And during the course of the next year or so, you will actually get the good news that comes from some of these departments. We have lots and lots of good talent, lots of good work. We have contributed a lot to the GDP, the growth of the country. And I think we're perhaps one of the best kept secrets. And we're trying to change that.
Well, as part of telling the story, I want you to tell the captains of industry, they listen to this program. Yeah?
Yes.
The Minister of Finance.
Yes.
Yes? You tell them.
Yes.
Why they need to invest more in this research effort that Dr. Badal McCreath and her team are spearheading, to the point where we now have this breakthrough discovery of a cell line for black people, the economic potential. Let's park for a moment the scholarship that goes into it, which is invaluable. Yeah, that will be in perpetuity.
Yes.
But the economic potential now, I want you to speak to them, because these people talk numbers.
Yes.
They want the bottom line. What does it mean for their bottom line? Why they should pick up the phone tomorrow morning and reach out to you or Dr. Badal and say, listen, I want to get a stake in that.
Sure. So let's just take cancer in general. The issue is that cancer is just very common within our Jamaican society, and as we continue to live longer and participate in the westernized kind of a lifestyle, the number of persons that with cancer is actually going to increase dramatically. The other issue is that, as Dr. Badal explained, the existing drugs that are there are not as effective as they could be. So what you have is that you have individuals who are dying prematurely because we just don't have the necessary therapy to prolong their life. The other things is that when we speak about prostate cancer, one of the challenges it has is that it tends to affect black men at a much earlier age.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that loss of potential. I consider myself a young man. I'm 59, almost 60. Right? I think I have several years to go ahead of me. Right?
Yes.
So imagine if I was to get cancer now. Yeah, that's not good, right?
Right.
And so the issue, though, is that you have to create the platform to be able to get the distilled product. So what Dr. Badal has done is to create that platform. So when COVID hit us, we were able to produce a vaccine in less than 2 years because the platform was there. The mRNA platform was there, and we were able to then transform that into a product that we needed. The university, through efforts of Dr. Badal and her collaborators, have created a platform. What we now need is the investment to convert that platform. You see what happened with the COVID? How they just invested all of that money, and voila. Not only did we get COVID vaccines, but we now have other vaccines that are going to be very important for us. And it's the same sort of blueprint that we have the potential here. Mm-hmm. Right? When Google was just being formed, search wasn't all that great. But you must imagine if you had invested in Google in those days, how you'd be well off now. Yeah. So it's the same sort of a thing. Jamaica primarily is a trading economy and what I consider to be a service economy. But at the other end of the spectrum, we actually are very talented, not only in music, sports, but also in sciences.
Yeah.
And we do have the platform. And there's a message that we're trying to get to our partners. So three key partners: civil society to help us with the advocacy, our private sector. So we have this lab tour that Dr. Badal would have explained to you. We're going to show them what we have. So this is what we have. This is what we have done with what we have. Imagine if we had more. Yeah? Imagine.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And
we would be better than Singapore.
Very well.
Yes.
Tell me, Dr. McCreath, how much you need? I'm talking to you as a businessman now. Yeah? How much you would need to really take this into in a way that you're that much closer to market?
I just submitted an application, and the amount just under 300,000 US. If we could get between 300,000 to 500,000, we could make a major dent.
Wow.
It's not a lot of money.
It's not a lot. Yeah, one or two of our leading companies can write you a check.
That's those 6x6s.
Huh?
6x6.
No, but seriously, you need to invest more in some marketing, Professor Reed.
We recognize that, and it's things that we're working assiduously at.
Yes. So I'm making a special appeal to all the business people listening. Yeah? That listen, call them tomorrow morning and tell them you heard it at Nationwide at 5. You want to make a contribution. Yes? You want to make a contribution. All the black male and female entrepreneurs out there. Yeah? He's 59. He says he's young. I'm 62. Yeah?
And you're young.
And I'm young.
Yes.
Younger than him. Right? And we want to live. Yeah? But it is a reward. It can be very, very profitable. Yeah? Give them a call here at Mona, Dr. Badal McCreath or Professor Marvin Reed. Yes? And tell them you want to be a part of the project, to invest in Caribbean, Jamaican research, yeah, local scholarship. They are world beaters, all right. And tell them you heard it on Nationwide at 5. Yes.
And I was right, no news left behind.
What do you teach here at Professor Reed?
Well, I'm a family physician, so I teach family medicine as well as nutrition and biostatistics.
Oh, biostatistics.
And he's super bright.
I know, his reputation precedes him. Yeah? I know of the great legendary Professor Marvin Reed. Thank you so much.
Arden old boy.
Oh, don't spoil it. Arden old boy. Nadine Malloy, good evening. You know Nadine, right?
Very well.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Thanks, Cliff.
Good.
Bye.
This is Nationwide at 5.
The Olympic Games 2024 live from Paris in France, exclusively on Nationwide 90 FM.
The Jamaican star shines bright once again.
Live here halfway through an Olympic final.
This summer, Nationwide 90 FM is coming in hot.
Jamaica to the blacks!
Nationwide 90 FM will be blazing as we bring you the games of the 33rd Olympiad live from the French capital, Paris. 16 fantastic days of competition in 41 sports.
Nobly Williams-Mills coming, the Brody flapping, her arms are waving, and Nobly Williams-Mills coming through for Jamaica's goal.
The station will bring you analysis and live coverage from the opening day of competition, Friday, July 26th to the very last day of action on Sunday, August 11th.
And some parchment, let's go! Oh, what a run!
Everything and anything Paris Olympic Games 2024 can be heard right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
It is a glittering goal for Sharika Jackson, and how they will celebrate that back in Jamaica.
We'll capture the spirit of athleticism. We'll narrate the Olympic fever, define thrilling moments, and report on the blood, sweat, and tears of the world's greatest athletes. Nationwide 90 FM is going to the Paris Olympic Games, and we're taking you with us. Tune into Nationwide 90.3, 90.5, 90.7, and 90.9 for live updates and commentary. We'll be giving the listeners a front row seat to witness excitement, triumph, and memories.
And I think it was a clean sweep for the Jamaicans.
Stay tuned to Nationwide 90 FM 24/7. Experience the Paris Olympic Games 2024 right here on the Revolution in Media Nationwide 90 FM, your Olympic Center. Exclusively on Nationwide 90 FM.
It doesn't matter where you sit or how much money you have. Economy and first class come together as one at takeoff and landing. What about relationships? Is it easier for socially unequal people to have a one-entry stamp in a relationship passport than multiple indefinite with someone they know doesn't match their social status? Come on, we've all heard countless stories of couples who crumble the minute one has achieved more and needs to move on and find a more suitable circle. But social barriers can't put borders on intimacy. So why does it cause relationships to sink? Join me, Rodney Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic: does social imbalance tip the scales against couples carrying the weight of a relationship?
Brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis, weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
The Oasis is brought to you by Solar Tech Jamaica. We use the gift of the sun to power our world.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us here and staying with us Nationwide at 5. Yes, and we're coming to you from the book launch here at the UWI Medical Faculty. No Cell Left Behind by Dr. Badal McCreath, Simone Badal McCreath. And I see here on our YouTube platform, yes, people are saying they want to make a contribution. Yeah, to the research that you're doing, Dr. McCreath. Yes, and they want to know how they can make a donation or contribution to your research. Yes, that is what is going to happen. You see, when we tell them that, listen, this can transform lives and extend lives, yeah, and they can make a contribution. So before we leave here this evening, Christoph, get the details, and let me tell our listeners, our viewers on YouTube, they are online and they want to make a contribution.
Thank you.
All right, good. So we're going to go now to the partner and chief editor at Bamboo Sparks, Keth Joy Watson. You are the publishers, Keth Joy?
Yes, we are. Bamboo Sparks.
Bamboo Sparks. Tell me about Bamboo Sparks.
Like No Cell Left Behind, we emerged in the pandemic. Pandemic was a blessing for both this book and us. We incorporated into a partnership and started our little company, a little boutique company. We are Caribbean-centric. We are legacy builders. And we take the guesswork and the stress out of publishing. Yes.
How has it been?
How should I put this? Because of how we have oriented ourselves as a boutique publisher, and because of our faith background as well. Clients just come to us, and we are building our own legacy as a publishing services company because of referrals.
Yeah.
Each one tell one, and then persons just turn up.
Yeah. This is not a typical book.
It is not.
Yeah. It is different. It's research based. But there's some amount of storytelling by Simone.
Yes, we dubbed this a scientific memoir. I think this is the first of our kind, and the very name of the book, No Cell Left Behind. I'm sitting over the corner and wondering, who came up with this name? Is it Simone? Is it us? Was it a collaboration? I don't remember. But it's a play on the education tagline. No child left behind.
Right.
And you heard what she said earlier, that we just found out why black men are not being treated well with the drugs that are out there, because they were based on Caucasian cells, not black cells. And note that she said it's a Caribbean cell line, and all of us are creolized by now. So it's not an African cell line, it's a Caribbean cell line. Yes.
And Dr. McCreath, how many men do we lose on average per year to prostate cancer in Jamaica and the world? Do you know that kind of data?
I don't have that figure out of my head, but I do know that 2.5 times more black men die from prostate cancer than white men. So globally,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And you have higher mortality rates in the Caribbean when you compare it to even in America.
Yes. And there are all kinds of, I don't know if they're myths or they're based in reality. Like ackee, we eat a lot of ackee here. Is there any connection between ackee and prostate cancer in Jamaica?
We need to look at that.
We should look.
Yeah.
But you've heard it, right? You never heard it?
I've never heard it.
Yes, man. So if we eat too much ackee, we get cancer. Well, if that is the case, may have it. Come and eat woolly ackee. But back to you, Keth Joy Watson. How was Bamboo Sparks able to secure the deal to publish what you're calling this scientific memoir?
This would have to go all the way back to high school, don't it?
Oh.
Yes.
All the way back to high school. You want to tell it or you want me to tell it?
Any one of us.
My business partner, Kamika Ruth Taylor, and Dr. Simone Badal McCreath are high school
mates
from Meadowbrook High School.
Yep.
Oh.
Yes.
History.
And when she came to us and I looked at this book, she said, you take the lead, I'm the chief editor. And when I looked at the first draft of the manuscript, you feel the weight of this thing. And I said, I can't pass it off to anybody on the team. It has to be me. And let me tell you something, I am a social scientist. So I slaved to understand what tannins are and cannabinoids. Yes, man, I had to research, because if you're editing a scientific memoir, there's no script for this. So you have to learn the thing first in order for you to edit it properly and leave her essence in that book as well. So most of what you spoke about is scientific. But from my perspective, this is 30 years of an educational investment in a little girl from Blackwood Terrace. I went to primary school, public primary school.
St. Richard's.
St. Richard's Primary. Went to a public high school, Meadowbrook High School, and her life circulated like a triangle between Blackwood Terrace, Meadowbrook High, and her church, and back again. She used to count the steps. She know how exactly, there's a part in this book, she know exactly how many steps it is between her house and Meadowbrook, and how she's going to fantasize about what she's going to become. 30 plus years ago, I'm not dating her, but 30 plus years ago, we were all, if you're Jamaican in the room, we were all a part of the streaming system of the education. We were a burgeoning independent country. And they stream you. If you're bright, you go in the science group. If
or
you're
the A stream.
The A stream, true. If you're good with numbers, you go in the business group. And if you make scribblings at the edge of your book, you're in the arts group. Anybody remembers those things? Yes. And so she was put in the A stream.
Because she's a bright girl.
Because she's bright. And here we are. Thank God. So the investment did pay off. There were criticisms about that system. But had they not streamed her, we wouldn't be here talking about this breaking news. Did she mention that there's also a breast cancer cell line?
No.
See it there? Another breaking news.
You have developed that as well?
3.
We are one.
We are.
No, seriously. So you developed a prostate cancer cell line?
3 breast cancer cell lines and a second prostate line that's in the freezer, waiting to be tested.
You didn't tell us that.
I didn't, but yes.
You took your publisher and chief editor.
That's what we do.
Oh. So that's...
We're working, Dave. We're working really hard.
Yeah. Wow.
And it would have to be for us, by us, don't it? And the recurring theme from the one you read at the back of the book from the executive director, Ilan Skem, am I pronouncing that correctly? She said that this is a historic blind spot, that we were never represented in the scientific world. And then somebody else says that, listen, what we're doing here, we have to do it for ourselves. No one is going to come here and go, oh, let's do something for these people, these 16 million people that fall between North and South America. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah. And this is why doing this broadcast this evening doesn't feel like work for me. I'm enjoying it. I'm learning, yes, and taking pride in the work that you're all doing here. You know, we hear our leaders speak now that we have to move Jamaica from a low-skilled, low-growth economy if we're really going to achieve prosperity. Yeah, and unless we invest and do this kind of work, we're not going to make that leap. Yeah, we're not going to move from being call center workers. We're not. You know, those consumers, not producers. So, you know, and what you do is a side of the business that has been dominated by countries in the metropolitan centers.
Yes. The challenge with No Cell Left Behind, she could have gone to any number of major trad publishers who knew from the get-go that this is good gold.
Yeah.
But it's so heavy. It had to be a boutique company who would realize that every line that she wrote in her original manuscript needed the thought process, not an AI, to sift it out and say, okay, economically, this is what should go and this is what should remain on the cutting floor. You understand, because you're a Caribbean person, editing a Caribbean work, heavy Caribbean work, that will hopefully in a short time, Usain Bolt of the lab, save the lives of this generation of men, not the next generation coming after you. And women as well, because there's a breast cancer cell line. Every other person, if it's not you, somebody you know, that is inflicted with these things. So doing this kind of work by a Jamaican publishing services company, it was a heavy weight. Up to yesterday, I was looking for another space that came before a full stop. Because I don't want not even a little criticism. You know how people major in the minor. And I searched for that. I found it. I found it. Because I don't want to subtract from the
core
of this thing.
Yes. How is it going? When, how is it going?
Sales?
Yes.
Sales are promising.
Good.
This is the official launch
Right.
of the book. Some weeks ago, we were at AC Marriott Hotel, giving it some more publicity and some more air. With your weight behind it, I expect sales to skyrocket. And the thing about it is this, it's beyond the book now. We need this to be, this is not just about science. This is the journey to the person who wrote the book. Every door slammed in her face at some point in time. And you could, if you're a lesser person, said, you know, that's it.
Kath Joy, tell me, how we can get the book?
That book can be had on Amazon.com, urban bookstores in New Kingston. It's at the Yui Bookshop. They're actually here. Thank you for being here. Yui Bookshop. It's night now. Thank you for being here. And it is also at our website, bamboosparks.com/no cell left behind. Yes.
Good.
Various paying methods on our website, bamboosparks.com/no cell left behind.
You said earlier, this is hard work. Yeah? What were some of the lowest moments, most challenging moments?
The most challenging moment, I had to cut out at least 5 pages.
More than 5.
More than 5, you know, but these 5 pages in particular, because you have to, I have to protect her from litigious people. I also have to protect my author from spurious comments. And I have to protect my author. Look at this picture. I have to protect my author from persons who believe that a woman, a black Jamaican woman, can't write this book.
Oh?
Yes. So there are certain things I had to put on the cutting floor. And I belabored that thing. And I put it in back. And I don't want to lose the essence of the story. You don't want to sugarcoat it. You don't want to stretch it. So I left it. Because it doesn't add or subtract the value of what she's doing. That 5 pages, if anybody find it down Riverton City, they can write their own book. Just leave that where that is. Yeah.
At Riverton.
Yes. If they find it, they can write their own book. I can be found at www.bamboosparks.com, and I will edit that as well.
Wow. Any questions? No? Yeah? But when she told you she was dumping the 5 pages, you didn't resist?
It was rough, but we understood why. As much as we would want to think free speech exists, we have to be diplomatic.
Yes.
And we have to also consider that while this is my story that involves other persons, there are other people too. So you have to, just be careful and be thoughtful, be considerate, I'm guessing. But those 5 pages were actually rough to see, more than 5 pages, because it actually connected a lot with this with the story.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Kath Joy Watson.
You're most welcome.
And how can people find Bamboo Sparks?
Bamboosparks.com.
Yes?
Yes.
And who are the kind of people you'd like to hear from?
Creative Caribbean people who are building a legacy, who have a story to tell. Not just any story, but the story to tell. Yes.
Okay. All right. So you may have a book or two in you. You need to check Bamboo Sparks. Okay. Thank you very much, Kath Joy.
You're most welcome.
Good. This is Nationwide at 5.
Shop now and save in Active Home Center Home Sweet Home Sale, Wednesday, March 20th to 27th. Take up to 30% off selected tiles, bathroom fixtures, lighting, and so much more. Shop selected 18-inch ceramic tiles starting at $199 plus GCT. This sale lasts for 1 week only, so don't miss out. Visit our showrooms in Kingston and Montego Bay. Conditions apply. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
Looking to rent a fully operational production studio? Then Nationwide 90 FM has got you covered. We have flexible options to meet your recording needs any day of the week. Monday to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays available upon request. Bookings must be made in advance. Call us today at 630-1210. Let us help you reach your production desires.
Public opinion. Stop this foolish about this GLP and PMP business. We are a Jamaican. Different people.
It's not a matter of a GLP or a PMP. I think it's more like where it is that you think you're comfortable, what support you can afford to make the country better.
Different views.
Most entertainers, they're not amenable to management, so the only thing that can ultimately structure them is the court and the prison.
Public opinion. The voice of the people at 6:25 p.m. weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Tune into Nationwide at 6:25 p.m. for Public Opinion, where the people's views matter.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking them.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Thank you so much for staying with us here Nationwide at 5. And I want to big up our YouTube community. Amaya Lewis on YouTube just posted, I just bought the book on Amazon. I'm a Jamaican-American master's student of medical sciences at Boston University. And she just bought the book.
Thank you, Amaya.
Oh, that's nice, Amaya. Yeah? Very nice. I would really want to say, go online at Amazon and go buy the book. Yeah, go buy it. Yeah, and for the entrepreneurs, yeah, they really need 300,000 US. Yeah, 300,000 US. That's about 45 million J. Yeah, all the big companies who are into research and development and know of what this could mean, yeah, down the road. Call them, yeah, here at the UWI Medical Sciences faculty and ask for Dr. Simone Badal McCreath tomorrow morning first thing, okay? Call them and tell them.
Sure, Cliff. And as I said, I want to inspire you to write your own book, all right?
Yes, I need to.
And to start you off, I'm going to, on behalf of Simone, give you an autograph copy of the book. So you don't have to go to Amazon to purchase, but you can still encourage your other relatives and colleagues to actually go.
Hear what she says to Cliff. I've always admired your professionalism and your impeccable journalism conduct. It is my pleasure meeting with you.
Okay, let's get the hugs out. Okay, good.
Thank you so much.
All right. And we also would like to make another presentation. This one is to Mrs. Hope, Debbie Hope, who is the Executive Assistant to the Office of the Deputy Principal.
Okay.
For all the work that she has done in trying to make sure that this event happened.
Where's Debbie?
Debbie, your time.
Come, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you.
Very well. Good. Thank you so much, Professor Reed.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Badal McCreath. Yes. And to the students who are here, I would love to hear more of you, though,
Talk to them. They read the book too.
Yeah, how did you find the book? Yeah, let's hear from them. How did you
Akeem,
find
Chelsea.
the book?
Chris, come on, talk.
Akeem, yes. Chelsea, yes.
Yeah, they all read it.
Yeah. All right. Come, Chelsea, and Akeem, come. Your time now.
All right, so for me, the book was one of the best reads I've had in a while, was the truth. I actually told a lot of my friends that I'm gifting them the book so that they could read it as well because I found it very inspirational.
Very good. Good.
For me, I could not put down the book once I started reading it. I wish this book was around as a high school student, especially a female in sciences. It's very inspirational and thought-provoking.
Why do you say especially as a female in sciences?
Because in high school, as Dr. Badal said earlier, if you're a science student, the path is just medicine. There isn't much talk about research or anything outside of medicine, so it was for me, I felt kind of lost to an extent because I didn't want to go into medicine. So reading this book was very inspirational.
And where have you landed?
I'm currently doing my Master's of Science in Biomedical Research, and September I'll be working full-time with Dr. Badal developing breast cancer cell lines.
Oh, good. Very good.
Yes.
And after you complete the Master's?
PhD.
You're going to do the PhD?
Yes.
Very good. Right here?
Yes.
Excellent. Where did you go to school? High school?
Hampton School.
You're a Senti girl.
Well, I'm from Westmoreland, but
I
went to
went to
Hampton.
school in Hampton.
Yes.
Tana Thomas. You know Tana Thomas?
Pardon?
No? Tana Thomas, nationwide. She does our morning program.
Oh.
Yes, loves to talk about her Hampton.
Hampton School.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I thought the book was very exceptional.
So hold on, who are you?
I'm Akeem Whitehead.
Yeah, Akeem?
I'm Akeem Whitehead. I found the book to be very, very exceptional. I couldn't stop reading it once I started. I had moments where, I could see her story in me as well. So that was very inspirational for me. The themes that stood out to me mostly was persistence and perseverance. And for me, I took away that, denial doesn't mean defeat.
Oh, good. Yeah. No, man, let him stay with the microphone a little. Yeah? So, where are you now? Well, what are you studying now?
So, I am doing a Master's of Science in Biomedical Research, and Dr. Badal is my supervisor. And I'll also be doing a PhD with her. We'll be developing prostate cancer cell lines this September.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. Him can cut it? Him can make it?
He has it. He has the will.
Yeah?
He has the will.
You hear that?
Yes.
You got it?
Yes.
He got best. I have this thing going on with them. I just started it.
Yes.
This competition, Student of the Week, and then Student of the Month, and then Student of the Year. And Akeem won Student of the Month for last month, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good, Akeem. And, I'm particularly happy to see the men, the young men, because I noticed you have more young women.
I do.
Yeah? So the women are outnumbering
The men. They are.
in the class.
Yeah.
2 to
Cliff,
1.
you need to talk to the men. What's going on?
Yeah, serious.
Yep.
Boy. So keep it up.
Thank
Akeem?
you.
Yeah?
Yes.
Good. Here's
So this
another
is
young
Ashley.
lady.
Hello, I'm Ashley Ann Nelson. I'm also doing my Master of Science in Biomedical Research.
Yes.
And I volunteer with Dr. Badal. I loved her book. I usually read science books. Rarely I step away and just say, let me read a storybook. But Dr. Badal's book, chapter after chapter, you just want more.
Yes.
I agree with Akeem. I think that the theme that stands out the most to me is persistence or resilience, because there were so many doors that would have gotten shut, and she kept on going through that. For instance, sometimes you submit to a manuscript to a journal.
Yeah.
You might not accept it on the first go,
Mm-hmm.
but Dr. Badal goes back to it and she turns and she manages to get it out there still. And if she was supposed to give up, her legacy would not be what it is now. And
Yeah.
she's truly inspiring, actually a role model in my academic career. So
Yes.
It's a privilege to work with her.
Ah, that's nice.
It's a privilege to
How
have
did you get into this mode where you want to do biomedical research?
research.
Why biomedical research?
But my undergraduate is in biochemistry. I either wanted to do forensic science or study diseases. So at the end of my undergraduate degree, I was leaning towards more so, I want to develop treatments to, better treat diseases, ideally. So biomedical research was the better pick for me, and that's why I'm here.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
I
she
plan to
got
do my
first class, sorry.
PhD with her.
She did what?
She got first class honors. She's
Oh.
a super bright girl.
Thank you.
Ah,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Ah, so what's your ultimate? You're going to do the PhD?
Okay, so the plan is to do my PhD with Dr. Badal. I also developing breast cancer cell lines.
Yeah.
So the plan is to, with Dr. Badal's goal, to actually address the disparity that we see, with our Caribbean people or Black people, hoping that cancer medicine can more so cater to them. So that's a goal for me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you plan to stay in Jamaica and do it, right?
Well, yeah, that's the plan. And
Good.
collaborate abroad, because, collaboration is really important in science.
Right.
Yeah.
Very well. I'm so proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Boy.
We have Isabella Allen.
Isabella.
Unique story.
Yeah?
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Isabella Allen, but my friends call me Bella. But yeah, I am been working with Dr. Badal as a research fellow. So I'm from the States, and I applied to a scholarship known as the Fulbright Scholarship. And that's what's kind of funding me here with Dr. Badal.
Oh.
And I essentially chose Dr. Badal and her lab after hearing what she's doing here in the Caribbean, which is highlighted in her book. And it was really fascinating, her book. One, which we've been highlighting, is Dr. Badal's pathway to become there as also a woman, but it was also interesting being, I guess, a foreigner to hear about the Jamaican experience. And
Yes.
understanding how, in high school that the pathway is to become a medical doctor, and that's kind of ingrained if you want to do science.
Sure.
And the idea of becoming a scientist is not the road less taken, I guess.
Yes,
So I thought that was very interesting. And to learn more about, I guess, my boss, my mentor from that personal side was really...
How did you hear about her?
So I actually, from collaborators abroad, she works very closely as well with the University of Miami.
Ah.
And with that doctor, I worked with as a researcher in her lab. And that's when I first learned about Dr. Badal.
So how long you been here? In
So I
Jamaica?
have been in Jamaica for 5 months now.
Yeah?
But I've been working with Dr. Badal since last July.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've been characterizing the breast cancer cell lines. We don't have the facility here to do like West immunoblots. So I traveled to met Bella there, and we started the work there. So we're hoping this money that you've been telling the private sectors to give us
Yes.
can allow us to do most of that in-house.
Oh.
So Bella is now here. We're putting the manuscript together, and it is our hope to submit it to Nature Cancer, which is one of the top cancer journals globally. And she's also developing or attempting to develop breast cancer cell line. She's also a superstar.
Oh, tell me a little bit about you, Bella. Where you went to school? How did you get into medicine or
It's actually a
science?
interesting story. My background is actually in chemical engineering, so not really in the bio, but in the sciences, in the chemistry.
Yes.
But I started to just fall in love with research, particularly with genetics and understanding how our genes affect disease progression. Then I got really interested in this kind of disparity that we're seeing with people of African descent or black people are having more aggressive cancer, that they're being diagnosed at younger ages, and they have higher mortality rates despite lower incidence. So even though they're being diagnosed less frequently, they're dying more. And so the question is, why? Is it diet? Is it cultural? Is it the environment? Or is it genetics? Is it something in our genes, how our makeup is, leading to disease? And that leads into why we need more cell lines, why we need more research on all people to better understand how we can better treat all people. So I don't know, it just kind of resonated me. I mean, clearly I'm not black, but I love people. And I don't know, it's something that just I find become very, very passionate in. And I just graduated with my bachelor's. I'm here with Dr. Bedell now, and I've actually been accepted into MD PhD program. So I'd be completing my medical doctor degree and my research degree. So it's
at UM.
We will see.
I'm not sure yet.
We
She's
will
got
see.
several
We
offers
will
on the
see.
table.
Oh.
Yeah, I got some options. So
I hope you have had a chance to get out and know Jamaica outside of Mona.
I have.
You must ensure that she gets to know Jamaica.
Oh yes, that's definitely the goal. The research is, I guess, the number one goal, but the
Yes.
second goal is to
Enjoy
explore
yourself.
Jamaica, enjoy myself, learn
Very
more
well.
about the culture. Feel like I've been learning more about the music, the artists, the food.
Yeah.
So we're working on it as a, we're a research team, but Dr. Bedell likes to say we're also a family, and I
Very
definitely
well.
have felt that, been very integrated in, and I think they're equally as excited to show me around as I am to see it.
Very well. Welcome to Yard. Thank you very much, guys. And Dr. Badal McCreath, I want to say thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Cliff, for
Yes,
coming.
it's been our pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Yes, and I want to say thanks to all of the persons who made it possible. The broadcast was brought to you by the University of the West Indies Mona campus and the VM Group. Our technical engineer, Jermaine Compass. He was assisted by Sheldon Richards. Our technical operator in studio, Andrew Glenn Anderson. And of course, our business development executive, Kimon Smith. Our videographer, Jamal Tucker. And our producer, thank you so much, Madam Producer, Dana Davey. And our news and production team led by George Davis. I'm Cliff Hughes, reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
Shop now and save in Active Home Center Home Sweet Home Sale, Wednesday, March 20th to 27th. Take up to 30% off select